Good morning and welcome to the OpenText Africa 2023 live stream. My name is Robin Lichetti, editor of Hypertext, and I will be your facilitator of sorts for today. A chock full of great insights, interviews, discussions, conversations with the delegates, attendees, and some of the partners here at the OpenText Africa Forum. You'll be joining us in Johannesburg. It is warm and sunny. Unfortunately, however, stage 6 load shedding is in effect. But as South Africans always do, we do try and find a way. On the agenda for today, a number of interviews with our trusted partners, as well as a few discussions with some industry experts. The kind of topics for discussion that will be happening today center around sustainability, which, as we know, is a big focus for many companies post-pandemic. Alongside digital transformation, we'll be hearing kind of their thoughts as to why sustainability has become a significant focus. Not just a kind of box ticking exercise, but actually something that companies are prioritizing in their business. One of the other discussions we'll be having is the kind of evolution of the workplace post-pandemic. As we have seen, hybrid and remote working has become a key fixture for many businesses. But what does it actually mean for a business? Is it something that can be easily implemented? What are the steps that need to be taken? We also will be hearing from some industry experts as regards the cloud ecosystem in South Africa and Africa as a whole. As we know, OpenText recently acquired Micro Focus, and it will now be able to kind of tell us what that means for customers moving forward, what those relationships, if they will change at all, what that will mean. And yes, so that's kind of what's on the agenda for today. The actual keynote itself will kick off at 9 o'clock. That is for all the attendees and delegates that are taking place, or rather gathering in the foyer. I'm sure you can hear the hum in the background. I'm pretty sure I heard the White Stripes Seven Nation Army playing a bit earlier. So clearly there is a lot of interest in events like this. I think post-pandemic, these kind of events weren't really happening, but now there seems to be a real interest to kind of engage, meet with customers, meet with partners, and really have tangible conversations that really lead to some important business decisions being made moving forward. As far as those tuning into the live stream are concerned, we will be chatting shortly to Thabiso Hlatshwayo. He is an executive from OpenText, who will be helping me to open up the actual live stream itself formally. We'll also be hearing his kind of insights as regards the cloud ecosystem in South Africa, what that means as far as OpenText is concerned. And from there, we'll be having a full rundown of all the interviews that are planned for today. We have a number of partners that will be joining us, as well as I mentioned, industry experts that will be able to tell us what is happening in the next 12 months or so, or perhaps even in the years moving forward, what the OpenText partnerships mean for them, and also what it kind of means for the South African information management landscape as a whole. So lots on the agenda today, lots to look forward to, and we really hope that you will get a lot of insight, a lot of valuable information from what is being shared today. So stick with us, and hope you enjoy.
The world of information is exponential. Business 2030 calls for total enterprise reinvention, human-centric work, new rules, new regulations. Let us help solve your most complex problems. It's time to get smarter with OpenText.
And we are back in the OpenText studio. I am joined, as promised, by Thabiso Hlatshwayo. He is a member of OpenText. And first of all, thank you, Thabiso, for joining us. We do appreciate it. Now you have a busy day ahead of you.
It's yes, it is quite exciting. We've been planning it, and it's exciting to see the day happen today. Yeah, absolutely.
Great stuff. So I guess for the people that are tuning into the live stream, perhaps if you could just unpack your role at OpenText, kind of what do you oversee there?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm in charge of the Africa business, particularly what we call solution consulting. Mm-hmm. So our role is to meet customers, understand their pains, and using the OpenText set of tools to try and address the challenges that they have. And ideally we do things like showing them value, how quickly we can make that value happen, and solve problems. And that's essentially what we do. And so we are still part of the sales team, but with the technical arm of the sales team, because what we bring to organizations is quite complex. You know, so if we're going to be solving complex problems, usually the customers want to go deep into understanding how you're going to interrupt my business, how you're going to reduce the interruption to my business, etc. That's essentially what solution consulting does.
Great stuff. You mentioned customers there, and I think it's a good kind of jumping off point as far as OpenText acquisition of Micro Focus is concerned. What does that mean for customers kind of moving forward? Because obviously the acquisition is relatively new, people are still kind of trying to find their feet perhaps.
Yeah.
But what does that mean?
Look, we are a big organization. I think that's first to start. So it's taken us a bit of time also to come together, to really match the two organizations together. There's a whole lot of things that we bring that historically OpenText never had, that Micro Focus had, and vice versa. So the idea is for customers, bringing two best-in-class operators globally into one just means the value becomes bigger. It means we're able to solve deeper problems. It means we're becoming more entrenched. And we as the organization of OpenText, we see ourselves as becoming quite a focal point for customers, running their very critical workloads, mission critical reliance inside of OpenText. You'll also hear the journey of cloud. The fact that the pace of the technology landscape and I guess the narrative of the world today is the need for everything to operate a lot quicker, a lot faster, etc. And as we move over to that journey, you start to see that we pick best of both, coming from both the stables into one, giving the customer the very best of options for them to solve some of their new challenges that are basically being faced today.
Understood. You mentioned cloud there. I recently read that OpenText is kind of into a relationship or kind of a partnership with Google Cloud. We have a number of hyperscalers operating in South Africa, which is actually great news for businesses. What does that mean as far as OpenText and its relationship now with Google Cloud? What does that mean for South Africa?
That's a very good question. So as you rightfully pointed out, right now we've got a few hyperscalers in country. OpenText has got a very strategic relationship with these hyperscalers. I mean, they are the best at providing infrastructure. So it was only fitting that we become closer to them in order to bring the best of our offerings forward. Specifically with Google as an example, the OpenText cloud solutions that we offer. We will offer OpenText on some of the hyperscalers managed on a customer's environment. We will also offer the same type of offer managed by OpenText for those customers who feel they want us running their workloads. If you think about the fact that OpenText also have their very own cloud multi-tenant offerings, a lot of these are actually made on top of Google. And while we've had the pleasure of all these applications running globally, we didn't have this in South Africa. So with Google coming into country, we are starting to see the potential that we will start to have some of those multi-tenant OpenText offerings starting to become a possibility for the African continent. So that is the relationship that we have, but specifically with Google, it's quite a special one as well because it was a global investment from an OpenText strategy to put some of our multi-tenant solutions that a lot of our customers use locally. So the comfort of knowing that Google is coming into country will also mean that some of their workloads won't have to ever leave the country as a part of this Google strategy. So of course, the same is applicable with AWS and Azure. We've got a very close knitted strategy, and we try to be agnostic with some of the key large hyperscaler providers in the region. So we've seen today some of the banks have chosen either Azure and AWS. We will work with any one of those agnostically. I guess the Google relationship is extra special because of the multi-tenant offerings that we've got living inside of the Google Cloud.
That's great to hear. I'm sure also customers will be pleased to hear that OpenText does not discriminate when it comes to hyperscaler. But I just wanted to perhaps just focus a bit more on the Google Cloud kind of partnership. Google has invested heavily in Africa over the past 2 years. Was that, I guess, a key part as far as kind of partnering with them from a strategic perspective, kind of that reach into the rest of the continent?
Look, while we keep abreast of all these hyperscalers, you are very much correct. Google is going quite far into Africa, and maybe I'm looking outside of South Africa. They've spent a great deal of effort into the rest of the African markets, Nigeria, Kenya, etc. And you're correct. If we're going to be cementing our leadership footprint across the rest of Africa, this relationship then starts to become extremely pivotal, and we were looking to leverage that all together in order to ensure that what we're offering for the guys in Morocco, which is primarily underpinned by Google, then the OpenText story starts to become quite a cemented one. So absolutely, it was a strategic play, and it remains for us a strategic play altogether. Yeah.
Perfect stuff. Kind of focusing on today's event, kind of what's your role, what you're going to be doing? I know that you will talk a bit more about your local keynote that you'll be delivering a bit later, but what's your kind of role, and what are you kind of looking forward to experiencing today?
Yeah, you know what? I think 2-3 years later now, with COVID having really come in, we experienced a lot of separation. Where we transitioned into working online, etc. We've become comfortable with that. So for me, it's the first time that I'm coming into an OpenText event here in Africa of this magnitude. We're having a great deal of customers, partners, experts from OpenText all together in one area to share and exchange ideas. I've got an analogy. My mom always says, if you have an apple and I have an apple, if we exchange that apple, we're still remaining with one apple. But if we've got ideas, you've got an idea and I've got an idea, and if we exchange these ideas, we are walking away with 2 ideas each. This is essentially what's happening here. The power of networking cannot be underestimated. The power of sharing ideas between customers to customers, partners to customers, and vice versa. This is the strength that, we've come to appreciate in such a setting that we're having today. My role has been, of course, helping out from a technical setup perspective, assisting the marketing team, pulling this whole thing together, orchestrating the presentations and so forth. That's what I've been doing as the leader of the pre-sales organizations inside of OpenText. What I'm particularly looking forward to is the outcomes of the session. So the follow-on from all these interactions that we would have had today. The idea is to really see what we then have in 6 months' time when customers are coming and saying, after the Africa Summit, I've been able to change areas X and Y inside of my organization.
Understood. Unfortunately, I will not be able to tune into your local keynote, but for those people that are interested in what you're going to be presenting, perhaps can you give us a little bit of preview? Obviously not the entire presentation, but what the kind of trends that you guys will be looking at?
So it's a really pivotal part of the day. Of course, it's my session, so I have to be biased to some degree. Absolutely. So, but no, I mean, to be truthful, OpenText is moving into a world of we are having the heart of our customers' information at the center, information management. With the world of ChatGPT coming in now and influencing the entire technology landscape, we've already, as a leader in the market, are starting to put into place our own version of a ChatGPT-like style of interacting with your information, viewing your information, to prepare for the upcoming generation who are going to be used to working with tools like ChatGPT, right? And so we are telling that narrative and setting that narrative up, and like I said, setting up the pace in this industry of information management, and starting to build that into our technologies. My topic is going to be not only to talk about some of these AI leading trends, AI leading things. We've got an area called Aviator, which is a new conversation that we've brought up as OpenText, where that we've built our own version of ChatGPT into our own applications. So I will be doing some of those demonstrations with an emphasis on leveraging AI and catapulting the machine and human team that we know is the future of technology in the world today.
Dan, I'm going to be sad to miss that. Unfortunately, the demo sounds really interesting. I think future-proofing the business, especially kind of supercharging your business with AI, is going to be really important moving forward. So it sounds like a really good presentation, and some demos sound really exciting. So sad to be missing it, but I do appreciate you taking the time to have a chat with us, and best of luck with your presentation and also with the networking that you'll be doing today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today, and I'm excited. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tupiso. And we are back in the OpenText studio. I'm joined here by Prashal Bagu from Vic IT Consulting. Thanks for taking the time. It's a very busy day for everyone, so we do appreciate you carving out a bit of time for us.
Fantastic. Thank you, Robin.
Cool. So I guess for people that are tuning into the live stream, your role at Vic IT, kind of what are you overseeing there?
So let's just start at the top. I used to be a project manager on the technical operations side. Moved into a bit of a salesy role. Obviously, there were some changes in the organization. Now that we've obviously spread our wings into the likes of India as well, I had to basically get onto the global footprint now. With that being said, I currently hold the title of GM and / CISO as well, but obviously managing a team of 64 engineers.
All right. And what is that? How is that for you? Can I imagine?
Lots of sleepless nights.
Sure.
My team is always readily available. And for that, I have to be readily available. It's not just direction, but it's about bringing up the engineers to turn them into management roles as well. Because I want the future leaders of tomorrow, that will be our IT leaders.
Sure, the kind of soft skills you're talking about.
It's not only the soft skills, when you find an engineer, he's the guy that wants to just sit behind a screen and continue coding, for example. And when do you actually get them to get those soft skills? And you got to merge it into them to a point of where I do something like KPIs once a month with them. And retrospectively, I basically get them to rate us as a management and leadership team as well. And one of the key things that I put in my KPIs is how they're actually doing certifications that are non-IT as well, just to grow them as an individual as well.
Oh, cool. That's kind of interesting that you're kind of ensuring that they have pursuits outside of the IT world.
100%. You have to have that because we just don't want everyone to be technical leaders, but being a greater South African, to take South Africa to greater heights, and basically just be a better person. Because if we can basically start changing one person at a time, how much better if everyone was doing the same thing? Because we believe in the power of Ubuntu.
Sure. We'll kind of get to kind of Vic IT's role here at OpenText Summit.
Sure.
But I saw the Mercedes badge pin on your.
So
what's the interest there?
Yeah. So Mercedes-Benz actually a global brand. One of the sponsors here today, but also one of our loyal customers. Mercedes-Benz South Africa has been our customer for the last 3 years. And, it's a very different relationship, if I call it that. But it's where, as Vic IT, like to say, we could help you. And when we say help, we really mean help. It's not just get us the next PO, etc. What Mercedes-Benz had a struggle with was trying to basically get the right partner in South Africa to assist them with some of the strategies from Germany and their head office, and we were able to be that partner for them.
Yeah, I think localization is probably something that kind of multinational companies struggle with.
100%. And that's why when we say we want to help as Vic IT, we really help.
Great stuff. So I guess your kind of role here at the OpenText Summit, firstly, let's chat about your partnership with OpenText. What does that entail?
So our role with, or partnership rather, with Micro Focus OpenText started off back in 2018. 2017 plus minus when we did the training, onboarding, etc. But it's definitely grown us to a global footprint. Whereas we as Vic IT actually deliver some global services on behalf of the likes of Micro Focus OpenText at some of the customers throughout Africa and South Africa because of our skills. The problem is we would never sell a tool or some sort of solution without us being certified in it. Why? Because when Vic IT as a whole, we sell a solution. It's not about a product set or a product sell. When the customer grows, we grow with them.
I'm sure there's also a bit of accountability as well when it comes to certification.
100%. With us, it always comes on with the point of, with responsibility comes accountability. And that's why I get stuck into those trenches. When we are doing a project with a specific customer, we there with the customer at those late nights, whether it be an incident management scenario, whether they've just been breached, we can do all of those things as well.
All right, great stuff. So again, kind of your role here at the summit, what are you guys looking to achieve? What are you guys going to be engaging with?
Oh, fantastic. I love that because for me, it's all about the POs. I'm lying. I'm lying. It's about fostering those relationships. We've got some of our large customers here as well that we basically graciously invited, covered the cost for them to be here as well. One of the large retail groups as well is one of the speakers here. It's these sort of relationships that we've grown, and that specific retailer has been our customer since 2019. In the hub of COVID, for example, we were able to still get growth in our organization because fostering our relationships across our customer base.
You mentioned COVID there. I think post-pandemic things are I don't want to say coming back to normal, but there is a return to some kind of normalcy. When it comes to an event like this, is this kind of the first time you're engaging face-to-face with customers again?
No, not at all. If I think of it, especially being in the security space specifically and security industry, I have to basically try and make those times available. Even at times when people weren't back at the office, we would still meet with certain customers, whether it was online or at a coffee shop if we could, because some sort of relationships you have to continue. It's not just about the deal, but how are you as a person? I know I suffered with some of the mental fatigue as well, being an individual during COVID. You wanted to get out of the house as well. The walls are just too small, right? But that's why these sort of outlets, and we have to be there for one another, not just from an IT perspective, but be there to a point of we are there to help you as a human as well.
Sure. You kind of mentioned the human aspect there. What's VicIT's kind of workforce looking like now? Is it a hybrid? Is it remote? What is the kind of situation?
We actually do both, and we've got a global delivery team as well. Like we said, if we do meet in the office, we try and do it at least once or twice a week, just to get everyone capable and all around the team kumbaya story.
Good stuff. I'd like to pick your brain a bit more, but I think I have to end just by asking, as far as the kind of security landscape for South Africa is concerned, what are the certifications or what are the trends that you as an organization are focusing on to get your people upskilled in?
So let's just not touch on the certifications. The largest GDP right now is hacktivism. If you take the US GDP and the West and the East combined, they don't even equate to half of the GDP of what's happening with hacktivism. So if you're not securing your environment today, you're already on the backfield.
Sure.
So there's a lot that needs to happen. And 10 years ago, a firewall and antivirus was sufficient. Nowadays, it's not.
Okay. So Prashal, I do appreciate you taking the time. Again, I know that you're very busy today. You got a lot of conversations that you want to have. And yeah, again, do appreciate
Thank you so much for your time, Robin.
Sure, take care.
Decisions. You make them all day, every day. From your commute to who you hire. But these days, with so much information out there, it feels like we're making them in the dark. That's where we come in. OpenText makes decision-making feel possible again. We make the inconceivable understandable. So you can power your people, connect your partners, and protect your data. Tomorrow's tough calls suddenly seem a little easier. We call it the information advantage. Unlock yours today with OpenText. It's the best decision you'll make.
And we are back in the OpenText studio. I'm joined now by Jason O'Reilly from CyberOne. Firstly, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to chat. I know that today is obviously going to be a very busy day for yourself, but yeah, we do appreciate it.
No, listen, it's always great to be invited to one of our strategic partner events. We get a great opportunity to engage with customers, and also, believe it or not, learn quite a bit. I think in the information security space and information space, things are changing so quickly. So again, we learn as much as we talk. So that's great.
Great stuff. So we'll chat a bit more about kind of what your role here, what you hope to achieve at today's summit is going to be about. But
Perfect.
before people that don't know, perhaps people are joining the live stream and don't really know much about CyberOne and your role, kind of what do you do there?
Yeah, I'm the managing director of CyberOne Solutions South Africa. I look after effectively our services business, our products business, and effectively revenue growth in the territory. Customer support is obviously a very big aspect of my role as well. And really strategically making sure that the business delivers what the country expects for us to deliver and our customers expect, and then most importantly innovate, right? I think in this time of transformation, innovating is important. So we look at a very clear value proposition to our customers. One is business as usual, and then the other is really focusing on how do we help them innovate for the future, because I think that is changing quicker than we know.
Sure. I mean, information security, It is rapidly evolving, as you mentioned. What is kind of the outlook from your customers as regards that? Are they now seeing it not as being a grudge purchase, or rather a grudge kind of consideration? It's something that they actively have to get involved with?
Yes and no. I think the reality, what we see is, and cyber has a seat at the board table, right? And that always means that, you know, effectively 5 years ago, actually 3.5 years ago when COVID hit, all of a sudden we had the seat at the board table.
It feels like 5 years.
It's crazy,
like
right?
10 years.
Crazy. The key thing for us then is we got a seat at the table, which is great. The challenge is we also got a whole bunch of budget. I think in the last 3 years, and the statistics that recently came out in a number of reports, was that we haven't done any better than what we did prior to COVID. So more budget, more effort, more complexity, more transformation. Many of the customers are starting to feel that now. So, you know, we talk about it when it's nice to have a seat at the board table. However, you've now got this pressure as a CISO and a CIO to show what you've spent. And a lot of people are struggling there.
So I'm assuming there's a lot of pressure now to kind of prove what you're actually being paid to do.
Exactly. So, I mean, we spend a lot of time with our customers focusing on outcomes, because I think one of the things that you struggle with is the measurement of spending all of this money, and how does that translate to a return of investment for the business. And that's a tough ask, because it is an insurance policy or assurance policy a lot of the time. So there's a lot of things that we have to reimagine for our customers. How do you prove the investment's working? How do we know the technology you've purchased is now able to protect your organization? How do we move you from a defending to a protection? It's a very interesting space where we find ourselves, and a lot of CISOs are struggling in that space, because there's two frames of thought a lot of the time. Is one, align with governance, and let's tick all those boxes and follow the relevant frameworks. Or there's two, let's just defend the organization. But we haven't seen any attacks in the last 2 years, so are we really getting our money's worth? It's an interesting conundrum. And also, I think with the cloud, man, there's a lot of complexity that's now being arranged. Everybody thinks the cloud is simpler. It's not bringing a level of simplicity.
Yeah, especially when it comes, I'm guessing, to information management.
You got sprawl, right? A lot of people don't know where their data lives. A lot of people don't know how much data they're consuming. Cloud services that, what do they call it? The ability to manage your infrastructure without knowing what's going on. It's virtually impossible. And we see a lot of customers. I read a really good article out of Europe, because, I mean, you know, they're a lot more progressive than some of us are. And when you read some of the articles, how many people are now pulling information out of the cloud because of the costs and the kind of savings they're seeing by going backwards as opposed to moving forwards, but still enabling innovation. So we're getting to that precipice, right? Yeah. It's interesting to watch.
Right. I guess as far as CyberOne's kind of involvement here at the summit, what are you guys aiming to achieve?
Well, for us, it's simple, right? We've been with OpenText probably for the last 3 years. We've decided as a business to really spend time specializing and focusing on OpenText portfolio. Initially, Micro Focus had we know that we're really, really innovative in some of the key spaces, but they had a lot. So we've spent probably the last 4 or 5 months focusing on how we specialize and also building up our managed services capability. So what we hope to achieve here is give people a taste of our capability, because again, when you look at what we do from an information security perspective, data protection perspective, it's about trust, right? So, and building trust doesn't happen over Teams, I'll tell you that much. Sure. So it is about connecting. I think one of the things that as South Africans we do so well is when we're sitting in a room together, we happen to get a better feel, we happen to get a better understanding, and most importantly, we're able to answer the tough questions easier. So, for us, these events are important. We've invested quite a bit into the OpenText cybersecurity and information security and data security space, and we want to give people a really good feel of what we've been able to achieve in such a short time.
Sure. I could ask you about information security quite a bit, but I just want to get your thoughts on Papier. There was that mad scramble to get compliant, but it seemingly has no teeth because information regulator hasn't issued out any notable fines.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to take something like that to happen before companies start taking the security of the data more seriously?
Well, look, I love that, right? And I think as South Africans, we often have to reflect. So let's take an example. You said we haven't issued a fine. We have issued a fine. Unfortunately, you and I are paying for it, right? You know, going to the Department of Justice because they didn't roll out their antivirus, and now that's 5 million rand. Unfortunately, you and I are paying for that, right? Because it comes out of our taxes. So it's very interesting for me that that has been our first engagement. One of the things I can tell you, because I'm linked to obviously a number of these communities, is the regulator is employing the right people. They've got the right advisory, and I think it's taken them that time to get there. Whether they scale, that's always a challenge, and those that are, of an opinion, because it is a legal fraternity that gets involved very heavily in the privacy space. Those opinions are what you've just said, is we haven't seen any action. Action will happen. Unfortunately, I think what we see is that tier one customer, your big banks, your big finance, your big telcos, all of those people have moved a lot quicker. What you find is below that, we're moving slowly because this POPIA thing is unfortunately a 4-letter swear word sometimes.
Sure.
Compliance is a cost. When we look at it ourselves, and we like to eat our own dog food, it's a significant cost to the business. And it doesn't always make for easy reading when there's a line item that says cost of compliance X amount of rands, right? So look, it's time. I will mandate is that when we have our first corporate customer who is in the headlights, and there is one at the moment, not the biggest client, but the minute that there is the first fine or there is the first judgment, I think the market and the regulation will start to hold a bit more teeth. But right now, everybody's erring on a care of just in case. It's almost like the Gauteng tolls, right? Where very simply it's everybody was holding out.
Yeah, there's another swear word.
There we go, exactly. So again, some people were holding out, some people were subscribing, and those that didn't subscribe, they're the winners, right? So again, I'm hoping that doesn't happen with POPIA, but again, a lot of legal people are getting involved, a lot of opinions are being shared, and when, as a technologist and a data protection, consultant to clients, the minute that we start sharing opinion, sort of the technology takes a side. So it's always difficult. We've got to try and find those balances. The CISO has also become this myriad of what their job actually entails and what is actually their responsibility and what isn't. And I think organizations globally are grappling with that. You look at the CISO's job 8 years ago, and you look at the CISO's job today, you can't keep throwing things at the CISO, right?
Sure.
There's other parts of the business that need to take accountability for this. So I think that's all about maturity,
Okay, so Jason, the last thing I wanted to ask you was just around changing mindsets. You mentioned that's a really difficult task. When you're talking about data and security, people often think it's just about crunching numbers and looking at line items, but there is a human element. It's about a paradigm shift as far as thinking is concerned. What are some of the mechanisms that CyberOne kind of goes with as far as kind of changing mindsets?
So one of the key things for me, and I've been very fortunate to be in cybersecurity and data security for over 23 years. We still like to do the same things expecting a different result. Many of our organizations have still got the same processes, the same policies, and the same technologies in their environment. I think with the advent, and I'm going to talk about them both, artificial intelligence, machine learning, the one thing we know about our adversary is they create, together with AI, an army of capability, a syndication of capability.
It's a business, though.
It's a business, correct, 100%. But they've created this capability. AI has just made it a lot easier for them, and I love to have that conversation. But many of our customers have still to get there from a data protection and a cyber perspective. If we understand that the mindset at the end of the day is protecting one known element of bad, which we know most technologies are all about signatures and all about, not necessarily knowing what bad is, but trying to figure out what bad is. And, it was the age-old Gartner model, which is the multi-tiered defense strategy, right? Which we still subscribe to. The problem is there are still so many people practicing that. Whereas the mindset now needs to, as we've innovated with our networks and moving to the cloud and all kinds of fancy acronyms, we have to think about the same for cybersecurity and data protection, because those capabilities exist. You just need to understand what you're looking for. And believe it or not, as an organization and an OpenText, that's exactly what we talk about. We talk about how do we do more with less. We talk about how do we reduce the complexity. And it's not just replace one with the other. Many of our customers are on a journey with Microsoft, and we support that journey. But a lot of our customers have been on that journey for 36 months and yet still have to appreciate the value of what they've invested in. So the mindset that has to change is think about the problem from an adversarial perspective, and then look back at your business and figure out where you're going. And with those aspects, I believe you'll deliver.
Great stuff. Jason, I do appreciate you taking time. I know we could chat about this endlessly.
Forever, absolutely.
Yeah, but I'm hoping you'll have more conversations with people at the summit. And best of luck with Cyborg, and hopefully we'll be chatting again soon.
Thank you so much for the time.
Great stuff. Take care.
Cheers. Thank you.
The changing climate is the greatest issue of our time. OpenText customers are already innovating, using the digital world to protect the physical one. So together, we can be climate innovators.
And yes, we are back in the OpenText studio. I'm now joined by Boaz Chalke from Boatech, looking very dapper, sir. I'm assuming events like this are nothing new to you. Looking forward to what you're going to be experiencing today?
Absolutely. I think we're excited about this event. Look, this is not a first event. We do this kind of events from time to time, especially around this time of the year when it's getting warmer. And we're really excited to what's going to happen today. We're looking forward to everything that's going to happen today.
Great stuff. So for people that perhaps aren't aware of Boatech and perhaps your role there, can you unpack what kind of your job entails, or what you oversee?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the CEO and one of the founders of Boatech. So my role is to basically run day-to-day, strategic and sometimes operational, leadership of the company to see if, to see the company to profitability year on year, to lead a company's growth year on year. And to strike partnership we are currently a strategic partner with OpenText. So that's what I really do.
Great stuff. So obviously the buck definitely stops here.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned partnerships. Your excitement. You mentioned your excitement as well about being here at the summit. How did that partnership kind of come about? Can you perhaps explain for the people that are watching the live stream?
Yeah, definitely. I think the partnership came about. I would say I'll point it back to Micro Focus. We became a partner with Micro Focus back in 2018, and since then, due to what happened and changes that happened up until today, OpenText acquired Micro Focus. So by virtue of that, we became an OpenText partner. So everything Micro Focus now under OpenText. So that's how the partnership came about, and we really are at the beginning of partnership, and we're really excited about what's going to happen going forward. A lot of customers, our customers, are talking about what they know about OpenText and what they believe OpenText can bring to their business. So we are very excited in partnering with OpenText to ensure this happens, to service our customers better, to bring solutions that customers have always imagined but not knowing how to make them a reality.
Great stuff. You mentioned Micro Focus and now being OpenText. You're kind of uniquely positioned to kind of talk about life with the company before and after the acquisition. Kind of what has changed, if anything at all?
Look, I think as I mentioned, it is still at its infancy. I think the acquisition happened earlier this year, and the sort of integration happened 1st of August. So that hasn't taken much shape, but events like this, what's happening today, is going to crystallize that, for us as partners and for our customers as well, so that they understand that traditionally in the past years we used to have events like this with Micro Focus, but they were more mainly around Micro Focus Realize. But now we're talking OpenText Summit 23, which talks to OpenText as a combined company with Micro Focus and the solutions that the company will deliver for our customers. And I think if you talk about OpenText, it has been around enterprise content management, contracts management, document management, those kind of solution integration with SAP, but with with Micro Focus traditional offerings, which has always centered around cybersecurity, IT operations management. That is going to form one, cutting edge solution for our customers. That customers are not looking for, small solutions that will make them win. They're looking for a, turnkey solution, end-to-end solution to make their business thrive. So this is going to make that happen for customers.
Great. I mean, it sounds from what you're saying that this is now, the organization is almost like a one-stop shop now.
Kind of, because I think, if you'd realize with COVID and what happened with COVID the last 3 years or so, customers and, the industry has always, not looked at business the way they're looking at it today, especially around their, automation, around making things, work for them while they're not putting much effort. So with this, maybe a one-stop shop sounds a bit, different from how IT is looked at. So I think it's more of a comprehensive solution for their needs, because when you talk about cybersecurity, how companies have been intruded on over the years, and and how a process of automating a certain operation within an organization, that is going to be simplified with offering a customer a solution that handles or deals with their security requirements, as well as automating the process of approval in terms of documents, because that has always been a headache. That if someone is sitting at home, how do they approve a budget that is requiring a customer to procure a solution that will help them in preventing a cyber attack? And with OpenText coming in, that is going to simplify that, because we're talking about a digital signature where you can sign a document anywhere without printing it and sending it on email. So that is simplifying the process, and then you're putting automation into the process.
Great stuff. So as far as Boatex kind of involvement here, you mentioned kind of networking and kind of conversations with customers and stuff like that. What are some of the other elements that you're looking to kind of get out of this event?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll reiterate networking, meeting some of the customers that, some are dating back to pre-COVID that we haven't seen. And this is really an exciting time to meet them and talk to them, because what, you probably notice with customers, when you catch them at their work environment, they're not that easy to have a conversation with, to get a meeting with them. It's always difficult. But when we're here, the more easy to talk to, the more easy to converse, because their minds are freed up and they are in a talking mode. So we're looking forward to that. I mean, I've had 1 or 2 conversations, and it's exciting when a customer approaches you and says, "Why aren't you talking to me?" Because of the things that they're seeing us here as one of the gold partners or gold sponsors of this event. It elevates us as a service provider to our customers, and they're looking at us as someone that can really help them with their solutions or their requirements. So this is one of the things that excites me, and I'm looking forward to this event, networking, talking to customers, and really possibility of closing deals. And it always happens. It's very possible that we can really come out of this event with 1 or 2 prospects and opportunities that we can close in the next month or 2.
Great. Well, my fingers will be crossed on those prospects.
Yeah.
I wanted to perhaps get your insight on some of the themes that will be discussed at the summit today, specifically around AI. Is it something that your customers are asking you guys about? Because it's something obviously the industry as a whole has been obsessed with this year in particular. So is it something that you guys are looking at or being asked to look at by your customers?
With no doubt. Because if you think about, what happened in the World Forum, World Economic Forum a couple of years ago, so it became one of the key topics around what's going to be happening in the next couple of years around what will be driving the economies of the world, growing the GDPs of their different economies. And AI has been in the forefront of that. And AI is here with us. We're living within an AI world with our cell phones, predicting our text. So customers are talking about that, and they want it to be crystal. And that's one thing that it's in their minds, is in their fingerprints when they're typing on their phones, on their laptops, and they see predictive text, which they don't know how that happens, but they're thinking about it from a business point of view. That how do we translate this to be a solution for our requirements in terms of whatever business that we are in? So it's a talking point for them. I think they come to these events to make it a bit more clearer in terms of how they can translate it into a solution that will simplify their business. So definitely is one of the things that customers are talking about, and we are also working around the clock in terms of our R&D to figure out how we can help our customers make sense of AI.
Great stuff. Bo Chaka from Boatech, we do appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. I think, as you mentioned, fingers crossed for those prospects. I think a lot of conversations that you'll be having today. And yeah, hopefully we can chat again at the next summit and find out about some of those prospects that you were able to close.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity, and really excited about today and looking forward to what comes out of this event. And thank you for having me.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we are back again in the OpenText studio. I'm now joined by Ree Fernandez from Datafinity. Firstly, thanks for taking the time to chat to us. Very busy day for everyone, I'm sure yourself included, so we do appreciate you always taking the time to chat.
Thank you.
For those that aren't aware of Datafinity and your role there, can you just unpack for the people that are listening?
Of course, yeah. So I'm the technical director of Datafinity. We've been in business since the year 2000, obviously an interesting year, so 23 years of business. We specialize in document capture, so it's all about automation when it comes to document capture and the all-encompassing electronic content management. So they can do anything from document management to records management, etc. And then further to that is robotics process automation. So all around human-centric processes, human-centric tasks, and how we automate that at the end of the day. And then all of that then gets put into back-end systems, triggering ERP systems or triggering BPM systems, workflow systems, etc. So yeah, in a nutshell, Datafinity, that's what we do. In terms of OpenText, we specialize in specific products for OpenText, not all their products. We specialize in a product called Intelligent Capture, which is their flagship capture tool. Also, there's an AI component called Magellan. We also incorporate that into all our projects in terms of automation and bringing in AI, because that's the big topic. AI is a key thing for us, and machine learning is integrated into all the solutions that we implement. So in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Great stuff. You mentioned AI. I think that's a great starting off point.
Right.
Is that something that your customers are now asking for, or is it something that you guys are driving internally?
Yeah, both, right? So in terms of AI, if we look at it was actually a conference I attended for OpenText back in 2018 when we first got introduced to the Magellan engine. AI has been around for a long time, but from a product perspective, Magellan became the inroad for us. We started seeing opportunities there and then incorporated them into all our customers' solutions. And with that, customers started asking the questions, right? Because robotics has also been around for a while, and they started asking, how do we make use of AI? And how do we automate our processes by using this technology? So a bit of both. It was us looking at the technology, us assisting our customers with implementing it, and internal. So we use it for a lot of our internal processes as well. And with that, we obviously learn and we integrate and implement into our customers. So a bit of both going on at the end of the day.
I'm assuming then that customers are asking more. Where can I get more AI involved in my environment? Where can I actually kind of implement it with greater efficiency?
Correct, absolutely. They're all looking for solutions. Also, let's look at the disruptive technologies that are out there. If you look at all that's happening in the AI space, some are wary of it as well because job losses, etc., etc.
Yes.
There's a lot of those questions that do pop up, and I think what's important is you've got to look at the human aspect. It's always about automation, yes, but you also got to look at ways of still making better use of resources. So take away that heavy manual lifting, because AI, that's where they want AI to play, is where there's the heavy manual lifting, where there's a lot of manual work happening, is use AI to automate a lot of that and also improve their decision cycles, right? So we're finding a nice sweet spot there in terms of automating that for our customers.
Great stuff. So does Datafinity kind of play any role as far as reskilling or upskilling, I guess, employees or workforce when it comes to automation? If it's taking care of something else, are you guys assisting as far as trying to get the workforce still operating?
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to training, when it comes to understanding what the technology can do, etc., we help implement that. But in terms of trying to move those resources, particularly at the customer space, into more productive work, we're helping do that, right? In terms of they might have a center of excellence as an example, where they can go into that space and learn a bit more about robotics or learn a bit more about AI. It's a broad topic. There's a lot that you can use. A lot of talking about ChatGPT, etc., what it can do, etc. In terms of OpenText, there's a close affiliation to that. Because if we look at what ChatGPT is doing, or we look at what Magellan's doing, this is a large language model, and over here we've got this more governed application, right? Because you've got this public domain, and then you have this more governed domain. So you can make use of any of that information and integrate into it. So with that, a lot of disruption, but also upskilling people to understand that, understand what are the benefits of it. Don't be scared of it. It's there to assist, etc.
So out of interest, you guys getting kind of pushback as far as kind of being told that, listen, we have an automation tool in place now, you need to start thinking about differently about how you kind of go about your work?
Absolutely, it's always challenging us, right? You got to accept the challenge at the end of the day, because the technology is moving fast. Again, you got to look at the right way to implement it, because there is a wrong way to do it. A lot of guys have like kind of the Big Bang Theory, let's just go for it. But a lot of organizations look at it strategically, right? As an example, a CEO of a bank that we've worked with for many years, he put out a statement saying that AI was pretty much going to take over the whole branch aspect of things. And it has, in a major way. You've seen branches close down, etc., etc. But we're hoping that those people are moving into more effective roles thereafter. But in terms of the take on of it, it has been good, but there has been pushback, and you need to manage that correctly at the end of the day.
Great stuff, great insight there. As far as your kind of involvement here at the summit, what is Datafinity kind of handling? What are you guys hoping to achieve here?
100%, yeah. So in terms of the technologies we make use in the OpenText space, the solution we refer to is what we call AI augmented capture, right? So talking back to the AI topic. AI augmented capture is really taking your traditional capture, because capture's been around for decades. But traditional capture is a sense of you would take documents, you would use OCR technology, so optical character recognition technology, which is really simply explained is that you're looking at a document, you're looking at text, you try and extract that text. But it's a traditional way of doing things. What we've now done, Datafinity together with OpenText, we've taken all the AI components that they offer, and we've now integrated it or augmented that capture process. Now, how does that work? Just to explain it quite quickly, is that if you've got use cases where there's still documents coming in and you're trying to automate those documents, there's a lot of data that's coming in with it, right? Let's use an email as an example. With an email, you'll have your subject information, your body text, where a customer is trying to communicate with you. And in many cases, a lot of organizations have still got humans looking at that, right? They're still trying to interpret what this email is about. Yes, there's a document that we requested from you as the organization, but what do we do with that document? But the data in the email is not being addressed, or all the information the customer is giving us is not being addressed. We're now bringing AI in to help us do that. So with natural language processing, the engine now looks at that mail and says, well, who is this person? So we're looking at an entity. We're trying to categorize it, saying it's actually an application for a new home loan, or it could be a claim for an insurance company, whatever it is. The NLP engine's automatically identifying that information, so it's more insight, right? So the customer now knows a lot more from the minute that email drops in the mailbox. So that's where our augmented capture is coming in, and also unstructured content, right? So you've got a lot of unstructured content coming into the business where documents we don't know. It could be a contract, etc., etc. The AI engine, together with capture, is now addressing that from an automation level. To give you an example, with one of the banks also in South Africa, the processing of bank statements as a use case. There's a big reliance on that still, particularly when you're applying for a home loan, etc. What we've done for them in the past, we had an automation level of about 30 to 40% on bank statement reading, right? So that was just reading all the transactional information, but that was just a read, right? We didn't actually use the data for any insights. Since then, with the introduction of AI, We've gone into the 80 percentile or late 80 percentile, and with that we are able to gather a lot more insights on the customer and automate that process for them.
Great stuff. I think we just experienced a bit of load shedding.
Yeah, we just saw the flicker.
But I think it segues quite nicely into my next question, which is just around the South African context. I wanted to ask you about Papia. You guys deal with a lot of data, a lot of documentation. Is that something that you guys are actively looking at? Because it doesn't seem like it has the teeth necessarily that was being mentioned a couple of years ago. So is that something that you guys are thinking about?
Absolutely, yeah, it's very important, right? Dealing with the big banks, insurance companies in South Africa, we take Papia and Poppy very seriously.
Sure.
In terms of the data we engage with, in terms of what we're building. Obviously, when we work with our customers, we work within their environment. So that's secured, and we're all about security, right? So we got to be very cognizant of cybersecurity, any attacks, etc. So what's key is that yes, we do adhere to Poppy. We make sure that we enforce it with all our customers and with our resources that are working with customers.
Great stuff. We do appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you very much.
Datafinity, I'm sure we'll be having many conversations today around data management, document management, and hopefully
and document capture.
Yes,
Absolutely.
hopefully those all go well.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your time, Robin.
Sure.
Awesome.
Welcome back. Yes, we are live. This is Robin Lichetti from the OpenText studio, and joining me now is Lorna Cook from SAP. We do appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, a very busy day for yourselves and I guess the entire OpenText kind of environment and community. So again, thank you for taking the time. We do appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We're very excited to be here and to be participating as one of the sponsors as OpenText partner.
Great stuff. As you mentioned, an OpenText partner, but a very important one from a strategy perspective. Before we get into that, though, I would perhaps, for people that are tuning into the live stream, if you can give some kind of background about your role at SAP.
Sure. So I've been with SAP, this is my 27th year, so I've been around the block. Part of my role is as part of the Software Partner Solutions team for SAP EMEA South region. That means Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And we manage a portfolio of SAP software partners and their local engagements across the region. And OpenText is by far the leading software partner, not only in the EMEA South region, but also across globally.
Great stuff. And the kind of importance of South Africa within that region, I'm assuming it's quite significant?
Absolutely. We've had a very long history here with SAP and OpenText partnership in Africa. Probably from about 2010, and we've really seen the business grow and the partnership and collaboration, not only in terms of the numbers, but also in terms of numbers of customers and territorial coverage. So South Africa, then moving forth into East and West Africa and into North Africa as well.
Great stuff. You obviously mentioned that the relationship with OpenText and SAP is a long-standing one. I wanted to perhaps get your insight, though, on the recent acquisition of Micro Focus. Kind of, what does that mean, kind of adding that to the mix now?
Well, I think it means that we've got many more OpenText partners and employees out in the market. From an SAP perspective, we've been working with OpenText primarily in the enterprise content management area. So the Micro Focus partnership doesn't really have much of an impact at this point, but my understanding is that there are discussions at the global level around how we can extend the collaboration further with some of the new offerings from Micro Focus.
Yeah, I was assuming obviously it's still quite in its infancy, as it were.
Yeah,
So I'm sure things will change moving forward. But for today's summit, what's SAP's kind of role? What are you guys hoping to achieve or kind of explain for customers at this event?
Well, I think what we would like to achieve is really the understanding of the SAP and OpenText partnership and the strength of the partnership that brings us here today, and also for our customers. So we've been long-standing partners with OpenText for over 30 years, in fact. So 1992 was when we first signed up a partnership with SAP and OpenText. And we are now, or OpenText is now, an SAP software partner or solution extension partner, and has been since that time. And what this means is that SAP, as you know, we've got many different software solutions that we develop ourselves, but we don't do everything, and we can't be everything to everyone. So many years ago, we took a strategic decision not to develop the enterprise content management type of software solutions, and to rather partner with the best in the market. And OpenText is by far the leading provider of enterprise content management in the world today. So it makes sense for SAP and OpenText to work together. And in terms of this partnership, which is purely at invitation only, SAP markets and sells the OpenText enterprise content management solutions. And then not only brings these to our customers, but we also put our heads on the block, so to speak, in terms of our commitment around those solutions. So we support them end to end. So a customer can acquire the licenses from us, and SAP will support and sustain that customer from cradle to grave, so to speak, across the entire life cycle.
Yeah, I think it's great to hear that there's a high degree of accountability that SAP is taking on when it comes to enterprise content management. One of the themes of today's summit is around AI, its disruptive effect, and what it potentially means for customers moving forward. I'm sure a lot of SAP customers are already asking about where they can implement it in their own environment. But perhaps, what are your thoughts on AI? I would assume you think it's a game changer that many people are billing it to be.
It is, and I think many people are using it already, whether it's in our private capacity or in a business capacity. SAP has really put a stake in the ground in terms of building generative AI into our solutions, because in the end, if you want to get valuable insights and content and results from your AI, it depends on the underlying data that AI technology is looking at. And if we're using that in a business context, SAP is actually the engine in many of our customers where that data and intelligence resides. So SAP is not only making huge investments in this area, but we've also been working with OpenText for many years in some of the enterprise content management, which surprisingly enough already have AI embedded in them. So for example, our invoice management solution already has machine learning capabilities that helps to learn and scan information coming in from incoming documents and understand the data that is contained therein. And as it learns, it becomes more and more efficient, and so the process becomes more and more automated. So we've been using these solutions for many years, but perhaps not with the name that we're familiar with today.
Great stuff. I'm assuming that obviously AI is going to be a major focus for SAP moving forward. But perhaps looking forward, maybe in the next 12 months or so, what are some of the areas that SAP is perhaps targeting as far as its local ambitions or perhaps targets?
Well, I think you may have heard from the keynotes today, cloud is a definite strategic focus, not just for SAP, but also for OpenText. And it was very clear from Harold Adams' presentation this morning that cloud is really the way to go, and we strongly believe that the future resides in cloud. So SAP is very, very heavily invested in our ongoing developments of the cloud solutions, and we consider ourselves a cloud-first company. And we're seeing the same with OpenText as well. And where our partnership actually comes together, we're actually able to bring all of the SAP OpenText solutions that we are giving to our customers, we're now able to deliver on cloud, not just from overseas data centers, but from local data centers hosted in South Africa. So that's a really nice recent development that we can bring these cloud solutions to customers and still maintain the data integrity and the data sovereignty.
Yeah, I think that the availability of pretty much all the hyperscalers in South Africa has been a kind of watershed moment for the kind of the local business environment. Just on the cloud though, what is SAP's kind of thoughts around Google Cloud being a kind of a major player for OpenText moving forward?
We welcome it. Mm-hmm. In fact, we've partnered very closely with OpenText to encourage the investment of SAP OpenText solutions in the hyperscalers, and we've been very heartened to see those investments taking place, not just in South Africa, but also in Middle East, etc. So Google Cloud Platform, for example, is becoming available in Saudi Arabia in the next 2 or 3 months, and we are working very closely with OpenText to make sure that we can bring these locally hosted solutions now to our customers in the region.
That's great to hear. I guess kind of to conclude, SAP's involvement here at the summit, what is the objectives today as far as dealing with customers? What are you hoping to imprint on them?
We would love to bring our customers into the cloud. We have a lot of people at our customer event who are still running many of the SAP OpenText solutions in an on-premise environment. That, of course, is still continued to be supported and will be continued to be supported by OpenText and SAP for many years to come. But we believe that the greatest innovation and the greatest speed to business transformation lies by bringing your environment into the cloud, where those solutions are hosted, managed, and mean the least human input, let's say, from the customer perspective, to get changes that are needed to transform their business processes. So if you think about it, so many of our customers' business processes rely on documentation, rely on content, video content, multimedia, etc. Wouldn't it be fantastic if we could bring those business objects and information into the SAP environment and bring those two worlds together? Many of our customers are doing that already, but there's still many customers where they're not yet integrated, and we'd love to share with them how they could move their business to the next level by bringing these two worlds of structured and non-structured information together between SAP and OpenText. So I think we've got lots that we can discuss with our customers, and we're very excited to share those insights.
Yeah, I think exciting times ahead for SAP and OpenText. Lorna Cook, we really appreciate you taking the time. As mentioned, very busy day, I'm sure, ahead for you for the rest of the day. And yeah, thanks again for taking the time. Much appreciated.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a privilege.
Welcome back to the OpenText studio. I am now joined by Louise Ruch and Raymond Bretto, both from Procentrica. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us. Obviously a very busy day, I'm sure, for yourselves, so we do appreciate, as always, people taking the time to come into the studio. I must admit, I have not done my homework. Can you perhaps tell us a bit more about what Procentrica does?
Absolutely, thank you. Thanks for asking. Procentrica is a process-focused business. So we believe that all business problems can be solved in a process-centric fashion. Process is the vehicle that connects your customer experience to your products, to your software. It's this link that is woven into everything in the core of who a company is. And it's pointless trying to fix it with technology if your process is broken. Then you will only have bad processes. That's quicker. So at its core, you need to fix your processes, make sure it's optimized, it's smooth, it's better than your competitors. And once you've done that academical exercise, automate them, integrate them. Go into your business systems, make sure it's smarter than your competitors, it's quicker, it's faster, the customer experience is better. And that's at the core what we do. So hence the name, process-centric business.
Perfect.
Do you want to add?
No. All right. For those perhaps who are tuning into the live stream and don't know what your roles are at Procentrica, perhaps you can just give us a bit of background.
Okay. I'm the owner of Procentrica, and Raymond Beretta is my partner in the business, together with Marcus Creer, that's not here at the moment. Well, he's here, but not in this room.
He escaped the studio.
Yes, he
Sure
escaped
thing.
the studio.
Great stuff. So perhaps Raymond, if you can perhaps let us know your involvement here at the OpenText Summit, or what is Procentrica kind of aiming for to get out of the event?
So we're here to help customers, as Louis said, to better understand their processes and automate it once your business process is fixed. So we are here to engage the clients or the customers that have come to the OpenText Summit to make them aware of who we are and just let them know that we don't tackle problems the old-fashioned way by just running in and implementing technology, that we are here to help you solve your business process and then automate from there.
Great stuff. Perhaps you can just give us a bit more insight into that. I know that obviously as a business owner, you don't want outside people coming in and poking their head around into the intimate parts of your business. But how does Procentrica kind of go around it, kind of to do it in a thoughtful way?
Yes, please. So, firstly, our customers trust us. So, yes, they do want us to poke around. Because we partner with them, we strategically partner with them. But I also think it's important to note that you can't just start with a process. So what you should be doing as a business is strategically understand where you want to go. And you've got a vision and a mission as a company, and that needs to translate into your process. So we shouldn't just delve into an HR process. That would be pointless. That would be way too expensive. What we want to do is find out strategically what you aim to achieve in the market, and then break that down and decompose it into a layer where we get to your processes. Once we get to that layer, we've got such clay to play with. And then we can start molding and make sure that it's better, and we can optimize it, automate it, which then directly translates back into your strategic vision. And as a company, that's what you want to do.
Great stuff. You mentioned the strategic vision. Given the kind of state of flux and the constant evolution with which the technology landscape is changing, how difficult is it for companies to kind of zero in on that vision?
Depends on what the vision is. So, yes, there's always going to be flux, and change is inevitable, and AI comes, and so does other things come and go. But your strategic vision should be something pure, like making it better for your customers, or making sure your products are first, or whatever, depending on what your business does and what the drivers are. And that's not influenced by technology.
No.
That's influenced by your customer experience and how you're going to stand out from your competitors.
Sure.
Do you agree? Sorry.
Great stuff. You mentioned standing out. Everyone's chasing AI right now. What are your thoughts on kind of that pursuit? It seems like a lot of companies want to implement it somewhere in the organization, but not necessarily knowing how to. How have you guys kind of managed those kind of expectations for customers?
I disagree with your question. I'm
Fair
sorry.
enough, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I don't think everyone's chasing AI. So I think there's still a lot of regular problems out there where COVID hit us badly. And in South Africa specifically, we realized how far behind we are. And there's a lot of our customers that's not fully digitized. And what you want as a bank, for example, is a customer to have a fully online experience. And we're currently implementing a lot of that where our banks require people to physically go into the Four West branch and go do it. So AI will come after that. But I think COVID revealed that not everything is as modern as we wanted it to be. And you first need to have the building blocks in place before you can fully go AI. But yes, absolutely, AI will help and it'll make a fantastic customer experience. And using the OpenText technology stack is exciting because it's integrated now and offers a lot of value. So yes, it's something we're going to introduce to our customers, definitely.
I think you raised a good point there that COVID was very much a gut punch
Yes.
to a lot of companies. How is ProCentrica kind of finding it as far as companies now getting back in line to what their kind of time frames or their maps or their projections were like pre-COVID?
So I find that we're working harder and we're a lot more productive. So personally, we haven't gone back to the office. We go into our office for fun, but just to get away from home. But most of it, and we employ 50 consultants more or less, and everyone is still working remotely. How interesting is that?
Okay.
Where before we all had to go to Sandton or wherever. So we're finding we're delivering faster, more productively.
All right.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I think COVID, like you
Yeah.
mentioned, has changed everything, and not just from a personal perspective, but the way businesses operate moving forward. Thinking of the future, or perhaps the immediate future, what is ProCentrica kind of focusing on for its customers over the next, say, 12 months or so?
So at the moment, we've got a few things in the pipeline. So we are heavily focusing on app work, specifically from OpenText perspective. There's a big customer base that's now currently reaching out to us for in need of successful implementations.
Turnaround strategies.
Yes, and intervention programs for, what would be the word? Successful implementations, as simple as that.
They want to realize the technology.
Yes.
And we want to help
Yes.
them do that.
So it's not necessarily the easiest to implement, and not everyone has had success. And we've been helping to turn it around.
Oh,
and
great
help
stuff.
them.
Yeah. That's good to hear. Again,
Thank
you
you
for taking the time to chat
Thanks
with
for
us.
talking to us.
Yeah, we do appreciate it, and best of luck with ProCentrica.
Cool.
Hopefully you can help those companies with their journeys. They're getting more success stories for them.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
again.
Thanks, Robin.
Decisions. You make them all day, every day. From your commute to who you hire. But these days, with so much information out there, it feels like we're making them in the dark. That's where we come in. OpenText makes decision-making feel possible again. We make the inconceivable understandable, so you can power your people, connect your partners, and protect your data. Tomorrow's tough calls suddenly seem a little easier. We call it the Information Advantage. Unlock yours today with OpenText. It's the best decision you'll make.
Welcome back to the OpenText studio. The guests keep on rolling in. This time I'm joined by Ntogo from AXA, Airports Company South Africa. And firstly, thanks for taking the time to chat. Obviously, as
Thank you, Robin.
part of a government entity, you're obviously very busy. So again, we always appreciate when people take the time to chat to us in the studio, because we don't get to head out there and see inside the keynote. So they kind of keep us all pinned inside here. So again, thanks for taking the time. Airports Company South Africa. Before we kind of get into all of that stuff, perhaps your role there, can you just unpack it for the people that are tuning into the live stream?
Okay, so I'm a group CIO at the Airports Company South Africa. We run a network of 9 airports in the country. So we're one of the government wholly owned companies or state-owned entities. So that's what we do.
Great stuff. If I may, government or state-owned entities have taken a bit of flack, not necessarily AXA, but some of the other ones.
Yeah.
What has your role as Group CIO been in terms of winning back or perhaps keeping South African citizens' confidence in the company itself? How has that kind of been for you guys?
So it has been a difficult journey. If you take back starting 2020 when we hit COVID, so we're a company that has lost probably in revenue base over 3.5 billion rands in terms of loss of sales. So as you will see our financial statement coming out this year, we're back onto sustainability. We're breaking even. So we're hoping that as the passenger numbers are growing in the next year, we will be starting to be profitable.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
And that move to profitability, I'm assuming it wasn't just a case of waiting for things to return to normal. I'm assuming AXA was quite proactive in terms of what it was trying to do. Can you perhaps unpack some of the strategies that you as a company were trying to kind of push forward?
Okay, so what we've done as a company between 2020 and now is optimizing our operations. So we have managed to reduce our operational spend by over 30%. So in the past 3 years. So those are the key things that we've been doing, and we have stabilized our environment from a technology standpoint, introduced a lot of cloud-based solutions into the environment, and as you will see in the next 2 years, we're going to start to introduce self-service type services to our passengers, just to make sure that the passenger experience actually start to grow.
Sure. What kind of other things are you planning as far as improving customer experience is concerned?
So as you have seen, Mr. Naidu this morning, he was talking about Heathrow Airport, as well as and Dubai Airport. So there is a lot of passenger experience, self-service e-gates that we're doing. We started the projects in Cape Town. We are doing Watambo in this year, all the way to next year, in improving using digital identity as part of the collaboration between ourselves and Department of Home Affairs.
Right, I'm assuming the plan is to do all 9 airports as well.
Yes, we will start in the next 2 years. We're going to start with the international airports, and then we'll then grow into the local airport or regional airports.
Great stuff. So your attendance here at the OpenText Summit, you were formerly a Micro Focus customer.
Yeah.
Now that OpenText has kind of acquired the company, what are your thoughts as far as kind of OpenText environment? Is it something that you guys are looking at potentially moving forward?
Yeah, I think that is what we're looking at, because I think as we're looking into OpenText and how they're orchestrating data management, we have a lot of data that sit at our airport, but the key issue is how do we start monetizing that data using platforms like OpenText, because in any business case that we do, we want to see where we're going, how much money we're making out of it, and what benefit can it add into our passengers or into our customers in the ecosystem.
Great stuff. I'm assuming that the monetization of data has to be tempered with regulation, things like POPIA and stuff like that.
Yes.
Is OpenText a company that you think can assist you on that front as well?
So we're looking into those type of things, whether OpenText can be that partner. But we're looking into their use cases they've been doing, especially in Dubai and other big banking customers and telco companies in the country, including SARS. I think they're doing fantastic in those areas. But those are the use cases that we're looking into as to how can we benefit into what they've done in government for us to collaborate with the other agencies of government without recreating some of the things that has already been created.
Cool. I'd like you perhaps in just looking over the next 12 months or so, if you, for example, are at the next OpenText Summit, what kind of use case would you guys like to be presenting? You mentioned during the keynote Heathrow Airport, for example. What kind of presentation would AXA would like to kind of present?
So I think the ambition that we have as a company is how can we facilitate frictionless travel through our all 9 airports as a passenger, without you getting stuck, without you talking to anyone before you come into your destination. So that is the use case that we want to drive. That is the use case that we want to see happening in real life.
Oh, great stuff.
Yeah.
I'm assuming not only as group CIO, but as a frequent flyer yourself,
Yes.
you likely want to have the same experience. So hopefully that does come to fruition. Again, we do appreciate you taking the time to chat to us.
Thank you very much.
And we will be having more interviews coming up during the course of the day. Only not even halfway through all of our kind of scheduled interviews that will be taking place at the OpenText Summit. So do check in with us a bit later, and we'll have some more guests with some insightful insights. So thanks again.
Thank you very much for having me.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Decisions. You make them all day, every day. From your commute to who you hire. But these days, with so much information out there, it feels like we're making them in the dark. That's where we come in. OpenText makes decision-making feel possible again. We make the inconceivable understandable, so you can power your people, connect your partners, and protect your data. Tomorrow's tough calls suddenly seem a little easier. We call it the information advantage. Unlock yours today with OpenText. It's the best decision you'll make.
Hello and welcome back to the OpenText Summit. We're coming at you live from Dimension Data Campus in Bryanston. And what a fantastic start to the morning. We've had some really amazing keynotes, really talking about the day and what the day is going to be all about. Lots more to come throughout the day. But for me, one of the highlights this morning was the Women in Tech panel. And it was absolutely fascinating. Even as a male, I had an opportunity to reflect on a lot of the things that were discussed in this particular panel, and it's such an interesting industry, but what a dynamic group of women. One of the women that was inside this panel is with me today, and Stefanie Dutoy, who's the head of technology and information for Remgro, is with me. Stefanie, I really enjoyed that panel. What stood out for you in that particular panel?
Okay, I think for me it is creating inclusivity, and I think the way to do that is to ensure that when you're a leader in a team, make sure that everyone can you create the environment where they feel comfortable, they feel welcomed in your organization, and you value their contribution, whether that is in terms of the style they bring.
Yes.
Because we can learn so much from the younger generation these days. And I think specifically those that are more introverted, give them a chance to speak and to contribute.
Yes.
And in that way you create fantastic collaboration.
Look, I may be wrong, I don't think I'm wrong, but we still have this massive gap to fill about women in positions such as yourself, where you're at the forefront of the technology of big organizations. I don't think it's still happening fast enough. What do we need to do to accelerate this? How do we accelerate women in tech to get to the levels that you're at, for example? Because it's clearly not there yet.
Yeah, I think the rate of change for me was very much a personal journey, and I chose to have children, and I'm a mother first and foremost, and
Yes.
I love my boys. So that slowed down my career, but I was conscious of that. And for me, it's not just about career only and achieving the highest position in an organization. For me, the challenge was more around stimulating my learning opportunity.
Yes.
So I think specifically in a global corporate, I had the opportunity to do 9 different roles in 12 years. And, that was just people giving you an opportunity because they see you can learn fast, you can deliver.
Correct.
So I think there's a lot of factors that actually play a role. But for me, I think the most important barrier that we need to cross is the entry into technology. And it was so interesting, one of the other panelists, Portia, she referred to how she tinkered with things as a little girl. And I think that's where it starts,
Curiosity.
Curiosity. It's a sense of curiosity that you need to stimulate with your child. And I cannot emphasize the role of the father-daughter in particular to allow your child to get exposed to everything. She's not necessarily gonna, my dad was very practical, and he did a little bit of carpentry on the side. He fixed his own car. He fixed everyone's electrical appliances in the neighborhood. But he allowed us to help him.
Yes.
And by helping, I don't think I'm probably going to be able to fix a car these days, especially with advanced technology. But it gave me the confidence and the learning opportunity to say I was never excluded from certain activities. And I think it starts with that. And then in education specifically, you know, giving them exposure to what it is like and inviting them to come into your work environment, even to come and job shadow for a few days or whatever. Give them the opportunity and let them learn.
Stephanie Detroy from Remgrow, thank you so much. Inspirational words from Stephanie, and touching on our Women in Tech panel that was just held a few minutes ago here at the OpenText Summit. We'll take a break and we'll be back with another interview very shortly. We'll bring you some highlights from what's happening out there. There's a coffee break at the moment. We're going to start the second session of the morning in just a while, but hope you're enjoying it. There'll be more interviews coming up shortly.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next breakaway session will be starting in 5 minutes. Please make your way to the challenges. I will repeat, our next breakaway session will be starting in 5 minutes. Please make your way back to the challenges. Thank you.
Are you ready? You feel lucky? Why come down to the exit stand to find out if you're a winner? Because our lucky draw is on. We are spinning in 10 seconds. Get down to the exit stand. Four, 3, 2, 1. And the winner is Indo. Indo, please come to the exit stand. Spinning again. Keep on rubbing around. Keep on rubbing around.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention, please? Please take your seats for the final breakout session for today. And please join us at the cocktail networking hour in the hallway. And repeat, please take your seats for the final breakout session today. And please join us at the cocktail networking hour in the hallway.
Take this, maybe start with applications that are already there, and that we can actually use in the cloud. Yeah. And we can use this goes up to protect yourself. Because what I told them, guys,
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats for the final breakout session for
And welcome back to our live studio here at the OpenText Summit in Bryanston. And it's fantastic to have the rest of the ladies that were in the Women in Tech panel. And it's a great pleasure to welcome Susan Page who's the sales director at OpenText, who was facilitating the discussion. Nirvani Deventuran, who's the CTO for the Fashini Group, joins us as well. We've also got Portia Similani, the head of IT governance and risk at Old Mutual Insure, and Talak Zawiya, who's the general manager for delivery office at MTN. Now, ladies, what a fantastic panel. I really enjoyed it. And I want to ask you first, Sue, what were your takeouts? Because we had such a diverse panel of women, but it was just so interesting to hear everybody's different views and perspectives.
Gosh, there's so many similarities, as well as completely diverse, views on some of the topics. I think every lady has their own journey and their own challenges that they've overcome. And I think that is, if anyone managed to grasp some of those lessons that were shared today, would be the most impactful as the objective of having all of these ladies on one stage.
Yeah, and Tala, I was certainly inspired by your journey. We had two teachers on the panel, and you weren't one of the teachers.
No,
I know Portia sitting next to me was one of the teachers, but tell us about your journey at MTN. What's it been like for you as a woman in tech?
I must say, from where I come from, and it's a Pan-African organization. I think they're doing well and making strides in terms of making sure that women's journeys are improved, and there's much more support coming from the organization as itself. But I still believe that there's more to be done, a lot more work to be given. Women in leadership need to also try harder to also help out all the other young ladies around. Very, very important. Yeah.
Now, Nivani, you've also have a very interesting journey yourself. And when you look at where this journey starts for young girls in the workplace, you talked about the STEM part of it, you talk about that growth. I mean, you grew up without any computers, and look at where you've got to.
Thanks. Yeah, so I think for me, it actually starts before the girls get to school. It's actually, we need to start teaching our girls when they're little girls, not just give them Barbie dolls or any of the dolls to play with, but also start giving them Lego sets, train sets to build, and get them exposed to STEM. For me, that was really important. I didn't have any role models to look up to. And I think right now, this is what we as female in leadership need to do. We need to make sure that happens. It's around breaking that glass ceiling and that understanding that it is possible. And when it gets hard, you can overcome it, and you must, just persevere. And there's always support structures,
yes,
and leverage those support structures.
Fantastic. Now, Portia, you've got such an interesting journey. You started off as a teacher. And what can you say to inspire women who are watching this right now?
Yeah, I think everyone should actually, I would say, adopt what is actually, I would say, a growth mindset. Just because you don't know how to do something today doesn't mean it should stop you from attempting it. Go for it and be okay with not knowing, and know what you don't know, which is what you're going to now start correcting.
I loved it. Thank you, ladies. It was such an inspirational panel. I know we're going to have some more clips of it coming up over the next few days, but thank you for sharing it very briefly with us. And we are now going back to the conference, the OpenText conference. It's about to start. I need to get back on stage and introduce the next speaker. But just stand by. We're going to have lots more interviews that we go throughout the day. But certainly look up that Women in Tech panel discussion that we had today. It was absolutely inspiring. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for this small interview about green IT. The first question I'd like to ask is your view of the relationship between FinOps and GreenOps.
The relationship is actually pretty simple, but first we need to understand both of these parts, right? So FinOps is all around how do you truly, in real time, control your cost, where you're spending money in your IT operations, especially with all the hyperscalers, that supply chain that comes in, that can be elastic and scale up and down, etc., which is quite complicated, and you need to put that in place. But then you think about how you spin up and down servers in order to save money. That also saves carbon footprint, right? So really, if you are optimizing for financial gains, you likely are also optimizing for carbon footprint, but not a one-to-one match necessarily. You might move from an expensive cloud into a private data center, but the private data center is running on black energy, not green energy. as opposed to maybe one of the hyperscalers that have been moving very fast on the agenda of being completely green, if you will, in how they consume their energy or where they buy their energy.
So I understand there is a strong relationship between the cost and the carbon, but it's definitely not always a one-to-one relationship.
Correct, yes. When you look at it and you want to control how you emit carbon as part of your operations, that's kind of a different currency, right? It's all about optimizing that you use the least amount of dollars, but also the least amount of carbon in your solutions. So really what you can say is that green IT, green ops is really just FinOps with a different currency, like, well, carbon instead of dollars.
Well, related to carbon accounting or greenhouse gas accounting, we speak about terms like Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3. Can you explain briefly what this terminology is about?
That's an interesting question because people in the know throw around these terms Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3, but if we cut it down into something simple, Scope 1 is for most IT companies not relevant. That's how you burn your carbon directly. If you have a furnace, if you have transportation, etc. going on using fossil fuel. Scope 2 is what else you indirectly use in your own data centers. That becomes interesting for green IT because you have data centers. It's also what you use in your office buildings, etc. as an example, but data centers in particular. But Scope 3 is where the real challenge exists because that's all the carbon footprint you create because of your supply chain. So if you consume from hyperscalers, if you consume other software solution as SaaS from other vendors, so that has a carbon footprint and you need to account for that. That's Scope 3. And that can be quite difficult to measure. This is why it relates to the FinOps, because that is where you also pay money and you can start doing that. And then finally, there is Scope 3 downstream, and then it becomes really confusing and difficult. And that's around, well, if you then sell a service as a digital service, what is the carbon footprint of that particular consumption of one of your customers of your service? Well, that's a little bit, again, like FinOps, because that's about what does it cost me to sell a service to a given customer. Now it's just what is the carbon footprint of selling that. And so being in the business of computing that is pretty important.
Digital transformation. So digital transformation, every company is undergoing this. But digital transformation also means an exponential it's an increase in use of power, CPU power, data, machine learning algorithms, AI, etc. All of that is consuming more carbon footprint, is consuming more energy, etc. How do you see those two related, and how do companies need to be, or let's say, balance their sustainability initiatives together with their digital transformation?
No, that's a huge dilemma for a lot of companies for sure. You could mention the rate these days around ChatGPT and large learning models, which are hugely expensive in terms of computing power. So do you really want to spend all of that energy just to answer some simple questions because people can't figure out how to use simple search any longer, right? And you can use those very large learning models for pretty simple tasks you can automate in smarter manners. So really, IT can be part of the solution, but it can also be part of the problem. So there will be dragons, as they say, right?
Thank you very much, Lars.
My pleasure.
Welcome back to the OpenText studio. My name is Robin Lichetti. I have been your shaman, your guide, for lack of a better term, over the course of today. And hopefully you had a good lunch to kind of see through the rest of what is still to be a jam-packed event here. I am joined here by John Gilbert, a sustainability expert. Would that be a fair assessment, or how would you describe yourself?
I think, Robin, thank you. It's good to be here, and maybe sustainability expert is a little bit generous. I work in an environment where sustainability is core to everything that we do and underpins everything that we do. And then I guess from a personal perspective, it's something that I see as certainly a personal interest and maybe a bit of a passion, something that I really believe in.
Great stuff. Well, we do appreciate you taking the time. I think sustainability is something that is a big theme here at the OpenText Summit. It's also, I guess, a big theme in general across the technology landscape, We've seen a number of companies kind of make it a priority, a real main focus. So I guess my first kind of question would just be around green tech initiatives. A lot of the time you're seeing companies adopt a carbon offset or something like that. What are some of the green tech solutions that you see are really yielding good dividends as far as companies are concerned?
Well, you think over the course of my career there's been a few, but perhaps an example most recently, which I think really best illustrates some of the potential benefits and impacts, was an initiative by a global construction-orientated software company in collaboration with one of the largest public internet providers. And this initiative was around the creation of a platform that was specifically targeted at the construction industry. And as you may or may not know, the construction industry is one of the greatest contributors to carbon emissions. And also coupled with that, unfortunately, they're also one of the least digitized and slowest to adopt technology vertical industries. And those combinations obviously result in a huge potential and massive opportunity to really have an impact, particularly from a sustainability perspective. And this platform that was developed not only provided a single source of truth and enabled the management of the end-to-end life cycle of a construction project, right from inception through to implementation and into the final handover of a completed construction project. But it actually facilitated simulations and enabled the construction organization to look at a specific project or a range of different projects and to simulate various different approach methodologies, sourcing of various different construction materials, and even to the point where they could start to quantify the carbon footprint of this project or a range of projects upfront and in advance before they actually commenced with construction. And I mean, in various use cases, not only were there improvements of efficiency of up to 30% and significant cost reductions, but obviously this had a major impact on one of the kind of biggest industries around carbon emissions, around environmental impact, and something that I think can be really a significant game changer.
Sure, just kind of following on that shortly. As far as companies adopting sustainability strategies are concerned, are you finding that strategies that tick not just the sustainability box, but a few other boxes are ones that always get a bit more drive behind them?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. To me, sustainability can be put into three broad categories. There's kind of the environmental, the economic, and the social components. And I think a strong sustainability strategy should certainly cross all of those areas. And I think one of the big challenges that one sees is often sustainability could be sidelined around other business priorities, and I think that's a huge mistake. And again, it depends on different geographies across the world and different organizations as to how they do that. But yes, a sustainability strategy that is all-encompassing, and perhaps a sustainability roadmap that permeates the entire organization and multiple stakeholders at various levels and across all different functions in the organization who actually have accountability and responsibility and ownership for aspects of delivery of that strategy is core. It's not kind of one area of the business that's responsible. It's got to be intrinsic to the entire organization. And yeah, definitely not that tick box exercise. That's not sustainable in itself.
Sure.
Ironically.
You mentioned challenges there. I think that's pretty important as far as the African context is concerned. When it comes to the environment, our natural resources, they have been plundered, pilfered, whatever you want to say, in past decades. What are some of the challenges there as far as kind of getting a sustainability project up and running, but also ensuring that the continent's resources are being properly taken care of?
I think the challenges in that arena are similar to the challenges across the board from a sustainability perspective. And what I mean by that, again, touching on that similar theme, is that there are, again, the priorities always seem to go to other aspects, macroeconomic challenges, what's the word I'm looking for, supply chain challenges, costs of resources, unemployment, you name it. These are always things that seemingly seem to be more urgent, and the return on investment and the benefits will be faster recognized than potentially a sustainability initiative, specifically from an environmental perspective. But to me, they are absolutely intertwined, and you cannot address one without the other. And so I think, that is going to be the key, is that a sustainability initiative and project should be seen as influencing those other core priorities that we sometimes erroneously give preference over and above sustainability. Does that answer your question?
It does. I mean, I think you raise a good point that there is a mindset issue that needs to be addressed as well. Are you finding that difficult to kind of change people's mindsets when it comes to sustainability and making it a priority?
I think sustainability generally is starting to become, whether it's enforced by an environment, by potential clients' environments, or whether it's really just, true adoption by organizations themselves. I think there's starting to be a genuine intent around that. What's probably more challenging is for organizations understanding where do they start? How do they go about doing this? And there's a fantastic opportunity to provide some real guidance and support around how do you generate a sustainability strategy, how do you develop that roadmap, how do you track it on an ongoing basis, and really measure the impact of, is it having some sort of definitive measurable impact.
Great stuff. I think, sustainability is here to stay. It should be a priority for many companies. John, I wish I could pick your brain a bit more about the subject, but we will be discussing sustainability a bit later on. We'll have another expert in, and then we can get her thoughts as well on the subject matter and kind of what that means for, I guess, OpenText customers as well. So again, John, really do appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully we get to chat again soon.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Robin.
The world of information is exponential. Business 2030 calls for total enterprise reinvention, human-centric work, new rules, new regulations. Let us help solve your most complex problems. It's time to get smarter with OpenText.
Welcome once again to the OpenText studio. I am now joined by Mandla Mbonambi. If that surname sounds familiar, his younger brother will be representing the Springboks this weekend against Scotland. I would love to talk to him solely about that. We won't have a chance, unfortunately. Mandla is representing Africanology Solutions, and I think firstly, thanks for joining us. We do appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks a lot.
And how's your OpenText Summit been so far?
It's been very much grateful, and then now too much of an insight and knowledge that we've been acquiring here. So it's a step in the right direction, and for one to be here.
Great stuff. So I must admit I hadn't done my homework. A bit of Africanology Solutions. What are you guys all about?
Oh, Africanology Solutions. We are a tech business. We provide services like a testing as a service, digital transformation. We're doing cloud readiness and infrastructure services, security as a service, and then managed services, integration, consulting, and enterprise solutions, where we're housing all the enterprise solutions and then providing the end-to-end solutions and also the integration.
Great stuff. So the alignment with OpenText is almost perfect.
It's very much perfect. It's a magical marriage.
Great stuff. And what is kind of your objectives here at the event, or what are you guys hoping to achieve?
We are here now to also now start to acquire the next generation of tools and technology that OpenText has been working on, and then now looking into how to embed them into our solutions and services, and that which we provide for our customers.
Oh, great stuff. I think one of the main themes that has been discussed throughout today has been AI and the workforce. What are your customers kind of asking you guys as regards AI? Is it something that you guys are actively looking at? What's the thoughts there?
We're actively looking into the AI space, and then with the current embarkment on the AI internship that we're currently running, and then now building the workforce of the future. And then now there is no doubt that now no one can deny the impact and the benefits that are being derived from the AI. So we're also looking into the AI space and also into how to help our customers now from upgrading or leveraging on that technology, which now OpenText has improved on.
All right. Could you perhaps expand a bit more on the internship program? And you mentioned readiness and kind of future-proofing the workforce. What are your objectives there?
It's now building the total skill, a whole skill, basically from the ground up, training the AI specialists that now will come and go into the market and provide the AI solutions, or helping organizations now to transform or adjust into that transition of the AI capabilities within their processes.
All right. Are there any kind of, I guess, key or core skills that you guys are looking at within the AI space? I know it has been around for a while, but right in 2023, there's been a real fervor to kind of get as much AI into your environment or your business as possible. What are you guys kind of prioritizing as far as skills development in that space?
Well, what we prioritize now is basically now your basic technical acumen or qualification, like your IT degrees, and then somewhat the engineering degrees, because now it becomes much easier to be able to build up onto that technical, because now you're going to need the likes of programming and then now being analytical and technical as well. So that helps actually basically a step into the right direction in terms of now building the foundation on that.
Great stuff. I have been asking a few of our other interviews this question just around Micro Focus, the fact that OpenText has now acquired them a bit recently. I know that the relationship, or rather the acquisition, is still in its infancy as far as what it means for customers, but what has your experience been like so far? Or what does it potentially mean for Africanology moving forward?
I think for us it was easier also because now we are already engaging with both entities. Then we've been now with Micro Focus for the longest of time, and then now when the merger happened, then we're at the fairly new partners of OpenText, and then now looking at the entire ecosystem, it also made sense to us because even now with other customers of ours, then we're starting to engage with them on a fuller stack of solutions and the tools that OpenText in cooperation of Micro Focus is offering.
Great stuff. You kind of mentioned the internship program, engaging with customers at events like the summit. What is perhaps the next 12 months look like for Africanology as far as the company's focus as prioritizing?
No, we're prioritizing an expansion and growth, and then also an in-depth capabilities that we're building around the latest technologies in order to offer our customers the world-best solution and enable them now to move and transition into the next phase of their businesses in meeting also their business objectives.
I'm assuming then that the kind of Google Cloud relationship that OpenText has fostered recently is going to be a big thing for you guys?
Come again on that one?
The Google Cloud relationship with OpenText is going to be a big one for you guys.
Definitely, it's going to be, a big one for us because now, if you look at it, most of the customers and also within our portfolios of services that we're offering, we also have that cloud readiness. Then now being able to take the OpenText solutions and then embed them or host them on the Google Cloud and opening it to our customers to work very much seamlessly and also add more benefit, in terms of agility in our services.
Great stuff. So it sounds like exciting times ahead for Africanology.
Very much so, and then it's both exciting and anxious times because now you don't know what the future holds, but then now we definitely know what we want to achieve in the future. So we're pretty much excited and confident that now, together with in our partnership with OpenText, and there are bigger things to achieve, not only on our soil, but then also beyond our borders.
Great stuff. That's good to hear. And I guess in the more immediate future, you have a few rugby matches to enjoy. Best of luck to our boys, and hopefully your brother can bring home another one.
No, we hopefully, and I'm very much confident in them because now I know that they have their heads in the right place and they have their hearts in the right place. Surely we're going to see the change, and then now it should be the history now defending the World Cup.
I think you're
and
right.
then it's coming to South Africa.
Thank you, Mandla. Again, appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully we can chat again in a year's time and see how Africanology is doing.
Thank you very much. We're looking forward to that.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Cool.
And we are back in the OpenText studio. As promised, we have another discussion around sustainability. Joining me this time around is Christina Herden, the Director for Sustainability at HCL Technologies. First of all, thank you for taking the time to chat with us. We always do appreciate it. This is a busy event, so any time that you guys are able to chat, we do appreciate. I think, first of all, let's perhaps discuss what we're actually talking about when we talk about sustainability, because from, I guess, a cynical point of view, it seems like a box ticking exercise. But perhaps you can elaborate on some of the key elements when we talk about ESG as it relates to the efficiencies of a business.
Thank you, first of all, for having me. I'm delighted to be able to share some of the experience that I've had over the last few years. I think what's becoming more and more important for organizations as they go on their sustainability journey is understanding how and what is ESG and where does it play a part into the overall sustainability journey. ESG stands for environment, social, and governance. So the importance of these three factors are becoming more and more apparent. Organizations really are trying to scramble to understand how they can comply. When you look at governance, for example, there's a lot of compliance according to international standards. How can they transact? How transparent must the organization be? And then what are you doing around environment? What are your policies that you put in place internally? How do you work from a social perspective? How do you treat your employees, your customers, etc.? So it's becoming hugely important for organizations to continue to transact in any given country.
Just kind of building off of that, I wanted to find out your opinion as regards the South African and African context. It seems like sustainability is mentioned, but perhaps isn't being pursued or prioritized in the same way it is in other parts of the world. Perhaps this region has other things it has to deal with before it can tackle something like sustainability. Is that what you are seeing?
I am seeing that a little bit. What you're seeing, especially now in the last few months, globally, we're seeing a lot of standardization around reporting frameworks. How do you report? How do you position yourself as a company? And each country, of course, has their own laws and regulations. Now, in South Africa, what I am seeing is that there is a huge opportunity that hasn't been really grasped in how we can maybe leapfrog as a leader in the continent to really showcase what we're doing. There's a lot of information that is already happening around CSR. There's SED, the socioeconomic development that companies have to participate in. But from a sustainability and ESG perspective, I think there's still an opportunity because people don't really understand, or organizations don't really understand the importance of frameworks and the importance of how you participate in these frameworks and how you have to change internally as a company by putting the right policies in place.
Yeah, I think as a journalist, I'm going to continue to be a little bit cynical because it seems like a lot of companies are quite happy to say, we are announcing a carbon offset program and that's it.
But how do you prove that?
Sure.
How do you prove that?
What are the kind of initiatives that you're seeing actually yielding dividends as far as sustainability is concerned?
So first of all, I keep harping on about these analyses and the reporting frameworks. I think they're very clearly defined as to how a company has to change in order to transact and in order to be compliant. So for example, you would find, or to receive investment from abroad, what you'll find is that if you don't have a human rights policy, if you don't have an environmental policy, if you don't have publicly available that people can refer to, analysts can refer to, journalists can refer to, investors and stakeholders, they all would have to refer to these kinds of policies. If they're not public, it already kind of gives an idea that a company is trying to hide something.
Sure, I'm assuming it's more that how do we hold companies accountable? They
Correct.
have announced initiatives, but what kind of happens after that?
So what we've seen, for example, from environment, I mean, climate and the planet is a big topic. What are we doing to reduce GHG emissions? And what I've seen is, especially for organizations that have huge data centers, what are we doing? Because that takes a lot of electricity, right? So you can start with ensuring that you have the right cooling methods in place, that you use renewable energy, that you have lower frequency blades that you run. Sure. So there are all these initiatives that can already be implemented today in South Africa or even in Africa. I don't see much progress with regards to using solar energy. We have 300 days of sunshine a year, give or take. Yeah. So we really should be using that natural opportunity to push and be potentially further ahead than some other countries.
I think you raised a good point there. What kind of role would, say, regulatory mandates then play as far as kind of keeping these companies accountable, but also ensuring that the right, industry standard is being kept?
And I think that goes back to, what are the regulations in country by country? And again, if a company transacts across border in different countries, in different continents, you have to understand what the local laws are. And many organizations and many countries will have these very clearly spelled out. And that goes back to helping a company to understand, okay, I need to move this. I need to ensure that my human rights policy is in place. I need to ensure that it has been validated and credited by a third party, like ECOWAS, like the GRI, like the UNGC, the United Nations Global Compact. Those are helpful.
Sure. I have been awfully cynical during our chat. What are some of the success stories? Are you seeing companies that are doing the right thing?
I am. And I think what really does help is being able to understand and being a little bit ahead of where a country is going with regards to regulations. It's an ongoing journey, it never stops. So I do see companies leapfrogging when they have these systems in place and when they have policies in place, because that means that they would be able to transact. A client in today's world is just as vulnerable as we are as a service provider. So if a client says, I need my supply chain to do this and this, you have to comply. Otherwise, you don't get the business.
Sure. And I guess to make sustainability stick for a lot of businesses, you almost have to show its worth outside of just being eco-conscious and stuff like that. How are you seeing businesses kind of leverage sustainability to kind of actually improve the business itself?
Well, I think, one thing or one area where it always hurts is financially. And if, for example, I just alluded to it, if let's say I'm bidding for an opportunity in Germany, and the German rules and regulations say that for any company to do business there must do these things. If I don't have that in place, I would not be able to bid. So there's a real risk of revenue loss if you don't have these policies in place.
All right. So I guess my final question would be, yes, sustainability is a buzzword. Again, taking the cynical view. What are your thoughts perhaps moving forward? Will it be taken as seriously as it needs to, especially in a context like South Africa and Africa in general?
I think so. I see that trend and that hunger for education and that hunger for understanding how to transact, and not only in South Africa, but across borders. I think I see that hunger coming over and over, and it's accelerating. As you mentioned, people talk about sustainability as a tick in the box. I'll just buy some carbon offsets. It's not that simple. So I do see companies, especially in the oil and gas industry and finance, really making an effort to align to these global standards and to be able to transact.
Okay, well, that is positive.
So it is very positive. It's an opportunity for us.
Well, hopefully, those companies are kept accountable. Perhaps we need to stop penalizing them as well if they're not meeting these standards.
And they will be penalized, again, from a financial perspective if you don't have these in place.
Cool. Well, Christine, we do appreciate the time you've taken to chat with us. I think, sustainability will continue to be a hot topic, and we'll likely be chatting to you again probably next year at the summit around this, and hopefully there have been steps that have been made.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Decisions. You make them all day, every day. From your commute to who you hire. But these days, with so much information out there, it feels like we're making them in the dark. That's where we come in. OpenText makes decision-making feel possible again. We make the inconceivable understandable, so you can power your people, connect your partners, and protect your data. Tomorrow's tough calls suddenly seem a little easier. We call it the information advantage. Unlock yours today with OpenText. It's the best decision you'll make.
Hello and welcome back to the OpenText Summit. We're coming at you live from Bryanston. My name is Zaki Anastasiou, and it's now lunchtime here. People are having some delicious food. They are checking out the different stands. There's a living tree that we've got on display here today. Lots of prizes to give away. But I must say the first morning session of the OpenText Summit has been absolutely amazing. We've had some phenomenal speakers. One of them is sitting right next to me over here. None other than Suren Naidu, who is the Vice President of International Pre-Sales at OpenText. You opened the conference, and I loved your presentation because really what it's highlighted for me was that this rapid space and this rapid place and this rapid pace of innovation and how quickly it's happening and how businesses, I get a sense, some of them struggling to kind of, find their foot in this rapidly changing digital environment.
Yeah, I think, Aki, the important thing for most organizations today is there are people who don't want to be bleeding edge, but they want to be cutting edge. So some people hold back a little bit and then do the leapfrog forward. But I think it's important to contextualize that sometimes the leapfrog is actually a much easier jump to make than to follow the whole trajectory that everybody else has done.
No doubt. And I must say that the theme of artificial intelligence has been really at the top of every conversation. Not that AI is anything new, it's been around for a long time and OpenText has used it in various means, but this is the year that's really been accelerated by the likes of ChatGPT, etc., etc. But you highlighted how important it's going to be for businesses going forward.
Absolutely, because I think when we look back fundamentally, most businesses were so fixated in bringing in disparate data together, getting the data into a structured format. Today, business is about insight, right? Your advantage to market is how quickly you can get the insight on your customer, the market you operate in, your competitors. So these are the kind of things that are driving industries today to want to use AI, especially generative AI. I think when we're starting to look about machine learning, it's about removing the complexity and deploying your human capital in the right places. Right?
Exactly, and I think it's one of those things that, businesses and leaders have to take an open-minded approach to technology. You cannot sit back and do business like the way you did business pre-COVID, or even 5 years ago, or even 8 years ago. The game has changed. And you also touched on the importance of cloud and that infrastructure in giving businesses the competitive edge.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if I look at South Africa as a good example, for me, cloud should be a natural thought process, given the challenges people have in country around load shedding, inability to operate their businesses in a way that they did. So why should they be incurring those expenses of gaining those insights when companies like OpenText are already providing that sort of infrastructure that allows you to stand up your business and focus on your business while we focus helping drive your innovation?
Now listen, OpenText is doing some very, very exciting things. That you touched on how AI is embedded in so many of the different processes going forward. But your message for me was OpenText is here. We're here to do business. We're here to make your business successful. Come and join us on the ride, because this is where the future is.
Absolutely, because it's all about partnership, right? I think nobody today can say, I'm doing this on my own. It's making sure that you have the right partners to take you along your journey, who understand your challenges and how to deal with it. And especially, we're a global organization, so we've seen the problem somewhere else. So why do you need to go and reinvent the wheel when we've done it already? So it's the quickest way to get your business up and running and be successful.
Now I see that you represent many markets. You travel quite a bit. You look after Asia Pacific, Latin America, some of the EMEA emerging markets. How does South Africa compare to other countries? Where are we on that maturity curve when it comes to innovation and technology?
I think, Aki, if I can dial it down to the simplest format, when an iPhone is launched in the UK or APAC, it's launched in South Africa. The same technology stacks are launched everywhere. So I think you're at the cusp of technology, but you have the advantage of the wait, see, and then adopt, right? And I think we have a wealth of innovation here because South Africans are creative and resilient by nature, right? And they're looking for creative ways to solve problems. So that creativity, positioned with the right partnership, it's only a road for success.
Yeah, and Suren and I were in the audience when Miles Kubeka delivered his accelerator, the Wakanda accelerator. You talk about innovation and how we're innovating with food, and I think that you're spot on in what you said, is South Africans are very innovative by nature. We come up with solutions and we adapt very easily, I must tell you, and that's one thing you discussed as well, is that despite the things like load shedding and the issues that we face in our country, we really are, we bounce back very quickly and we find a solution to all of these problems, and it works.
Absolutely. I mean, my session today was a good example. There was load shedding. right smack bang in the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
But nothing stopped.
You just paused, and a few seconds later it was
everything
there.
carried on. So
if it was in the UK,
yeah, I think I have a problem. Yeah,
there would have been panic. Absolutely. But it's brilliant. That was a great example, and it wasn't set up, by the way, that there was load shedding in the middle of your presentation, because it just went dark for a few seconds, which was brilliant. Thank you very much, Suren.
My pleasure.
Pleasure talking to you, Suren Naidu, Vice President of International Pre-Sales at OpenText, sharing us his optimism and looking at how OpenText can help your business achieve those targets, and really leave the heavy lifting stuff for these guys to do and focus on doing your business and innovating within your organization. Thank you for joining us.
The changing climate is the greatest issue of our time. OpenText customers are already innovating, using the digital world to protect the physical one. So together, we can be climate innovators.
And welcome back to the OpenText Summit. It's Aki Anastasiou here, and talking right now with me in the studio is none other than Miles Kubeka, author, entrepreneur. He's a South African extraordinaire, and when he finished his speech today, he got this most incredible standing ovation. How did that feel, Miles?
That was
That's amazing.
Yeah,
well,
thank you.
You absolutely deserved it, because I was watching the crowd, and you had the crowd eating out of your hands. And it's kind of difficult to describe Miles Kubeka, because Miles Kubeka is so much more than food. I know you from Microsoft days when you were a systems engineer.
Yeah.
So how do you introduce Miles Kubeka to people? Who is Miles Kubeka?
Wow, that's actually a good question. I think above all else, I'm just a South African who's passionate about this country, and I think once you've traveled the world, you realize how fortunate we are in South Africa, despite our challenges. And what I've noticed is that there's two kinds of people. Ones who've traveled will always appreciate the country, but unintentionally they'll always compare our negative stuff with whatever country they're from is positive.
Yes.
They never compare our great with their great.
Yes.
And it's a very important distinction. You know, like if you say, you were in the US and the public transport system is great, for example. In fact, I'll use Stockholm, Sweden. Amazing public transport, amazing efficiency, amazing everything, right? So the temptation, when you compare it to ours, you go like, wow, that's impressive. But they're in the dark for 10 months of the year because, you know, the Scandinavian country, it's up there in the north. So it's dark. And I'd rather have us compared to our amazing sunshine that's
100%.
12 months of the year.
And I bet you if we had to do a study, they're probably less happier than us. No insult to any of our Swedish viewers that are watching right now.
Yeah.
But in fact, even the the gentleman from OpenText opened today, the vice president. He's from Germany, and he even said that, out of all of the countries that he covers, and he's got more than 100 countries, the one place he wants to come to.
It's true. It's amazing. And we take it for granted. And, I used to hear people say, oh, South Africa, we've got amazing people. Or I always thought that's like condescending when people say, oh, but it's true. It's genuinely true.
It's definitely true.
Yeah.
And you've really touched on so many different aspects of South Africans. I loved your story about Vuyo's Wors, and he sold the story so well that I wish there was a Vuyo's Wors outlet over here, so that I really felt like eating it. And that's so uniquely South African.
Yeah.
But that was in your early days. But I want to talk about Wakanda, and for me that was exciting. It left me feeling so inspired. Tell us about Wakanda.
So we run, Wakanda is a food and beverage accelerator.
Yes.
So we work with amazing food and beverage entrepreneurs, guys who are starting their journey.
Yes.
And we find they're often very talented, whether in the food, whether they're chefs or product dev guys or whatever. We find that there's a skill set there for sure. There's no two ways about it. What often is lacking is the business side, the business acumen, the way, how do you make this a sustainable business that goes global even, right?
Yes.
And that's the part we come in. I call it bulletproofing. So we take some of the lessons I learned when I was in my journey as a startup, and we give them essentially what I wish I had when I was starting out.
Yes.
Right? I really wish I had a rich uncle. That would have been nice. But other than that, I wish I had someone who could help me and guide me on how do I hire
team, a team that can deliver on the product? Or how do I find someone who will help me with operations?
Yes.
Because now once you start scaling and putting your product in a big retail, like, you know, there's a whole engine that has to be put in place.
Yeah.
So yeah, we bulletproof food and beverage businesses.
And you know, it struck me because we take so many things for granted. You mentioned that, you know, people earn X amount of money for doing a job, etc., etc., but you can't always afford to buy bulk, which is ultimately the cheaper way to go in the long term. And you've established these stands, and I'm not going to get the Qualisas.
Yes.
And it was absolutely brilliant because people came, they could pay for what they afford, and they're still getting that value.
Yeah.
And then there were so many offspins of that. There was the solar and there were the lights that came out. And you had all of these little industries and this community coming together and just changing the entire community.
Yeah. And can I speak with the...
Yes, okay. You can go ahead.
Okay. It was a revelation for us too. I mean, we started during COVID when we realized that actually people in the townships are not poor, they're just poorly paid. So it's a cash flow issue more than anything. So when I realized that, I thought, like, it's insane that people are marginalized out of the food system based on the fact that they have money, but not what the pack size costs.
Yes.
So when you remove the pack size, it allows them to pay for food based on the amount of money.
Brilliant.
So we'll sell you a tea bag for 50 cents, an egg for $2, and yeah, so you pay for what the amount of money you've got.
It's almost like where the software industry is going, you know, pay for a service, pay as a service.
Yes.
And how many Qualisas are there?
So as a systems engineer, my biggest thing about scaling is the realization that if you scale too fast, you scale the problems with.
Correct.
So we are very much intentional in what I call bug fixing. So we're spending a lot of time getting it on the point we want, as well as releasing the features on the version 1, because when we scale, and we're about to put 25 in just Alex alone.
That's
for example.
amazing.
Yeah. So, but you don't want to have 25 times the problem.
Exactly.
Right.
And you want it to work, and it must be streamlined and work well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, that's 25. That's a lot.
That's just in one township.
In one township in Alex.
Yeah.
And you're going to have 25 of these Qualisas. But I imagine that you must be flooded with requests from all over the country to do this.
We are, and we're blessed, and we really, really are blessed in that. But the secret sauce for us is that they're about the communities we work with.
Yes.
We work with the community-based organizations. So the mamas who've been feeding kids or the community, and they've been doing it for years, and no one has been giving them any pomp or, but they just keep doing it, and you don't know why they keep doing it, because they don't make money from it, but they're always feeding the kids in the community. So those are the first people we want to empower, because once they've got a Qualisa, now they've got an alternative revenue stream.
Correct.
And secondly, the community trusts them.
Yes.
So it's a self-fulfilling like prophecy. So that's where our focal area is.
So is it almost like taking it as a franchise?
Well, in tech speak, we are like a platform.
A platform, okay.
Right. So we'll build the infrastructure, and then we will do the support services, like making sure the food is there and all of that, and training, which is the Wakanda side. So we train the store owners or the community-based organizations to operate.
That's absolutely brilliant. I mean, what's next? You left us so inspired, and I love the way that you see opportunity. Wherever you go.
Yeah.
What's next?
Well, I mean, like one thing I forgot to mention, which is important, and it got triggered when the Accenture guys were talking about sustainability. Obviously, we use solar panels and so forth, and we don't use, because we don't use plastics or packaging. The impact we have on the environment is exponential.
Because people bring a glass jar
or an old PET bottle.
And I saw those people filling up an old Coke bottle with detergent, which is brilliant.
So that means, and because you don't ever think about it, that means in a community, my mom always says, like, just because you're poor doesn't mean you have to be dirty. And it turns out people aren't actually dirty, it's the circumstance. So when you buy a lot of small pack sizes, it means your predisposition to litter is
much higher because you're buying a lot of small stuff.
Yeah.
And then you're probably living in an informal settlement which doesn't have guys coming up and picking up the garbage. So you end up littering on the floor. So with less people buying packs with packaging, that's less packaging that goes into the environment.
I'm going to ask you a really tough question.
Sure.
Because if I had to make you, Miles Kubeka, president of the country for one day, what's the one thing you change?
I would firstly say thank you, but no thanks. And a simple reason, because I think, like I said to you or to the audience, that I find charity, or even just generally, society has got a lot of dependency issues.
Yes.
People look up to somebody to come and solve the problems. I'm of the opinion that a lot of people can actually solve their own problems.
Brilliant.
I believe in bottom-up solutions rather than me sitting in a podium and saying X and Y, and I have no control in it. I'd rather be on the ground with the community and say, and just watch what they're doing, and then catalyzing the solutions with them.
Where does someone get some more information about the work that you guys are doing?
Our Wakanda website, www.wakanda.org.za, and Gwalisa is www.gwalisa.com.
So does Gwalisa fit in under the Wakanda umbrella, right? Because I'm sure there's lots of other little projects going on there.
Actually, we're working on 17 projects right now.
Wow.
Water is the next biggest problem statement, and people don't realize water is worse than electricity in terms of impact on everybody, right? And we've seen the cholera issue a couple of months back. Water, you know, if you go to most African countries, I call them the bottled water economy, because you do everything using bottled water. You brush your teeth with bottled water, you cook with bottled water because you can't trust the water. But the two are interlinked. Electricity and water. When electricity is when it hits the cliff and falls off the cliff, the water problem becomes exponential that quickly.
Right.
So we're already looking on and working on those solutions around water, because we see it. It's probably five years away.
And it's you know, the problem is growing exponentially over the years, as we've seen.
And it will affect everybody, because water, once it's contaminated, you drink it, then it's a health issue.
Yes.
Whereas electricity, sure, it sucks, but it's mostly an inconvenience. Whereas water is not. It's hardcore important.
Inspirational stuff, Miles. Always good to see you.
Thank you.
Miles Kubeka, just do a Google search. Check it out on YouTube as well, and you'll find out exactly what I'm talking about. And presenting here at the OpenText Summit and getting an incredibly well-deserved standing ovation. We'll be back with some more interviews in just a moment.
Decisions. You make them all day, every day. From your commute to who you hire. But these days, with so much information out there, it feels like we're making them in the dark. That's where we come in. OpenText makes decision-making feel possible again. We make the inconceivable understandable, so you can power your people, connect your partners, and protect your data. Tomorrow's tough calls suddenly seem a little easier. We call it the information advantage. Unlock yours today with OpenText. It's the best decision you'll make.
And welcome back to the OpenText Summit, coming at you live from Johannesburg. Aki Anastasiou here, and it's great to be joined in the studio by Lee Gale, who's the Regional Vice President for Channels and Alliances. Lee, it's been a fantastic day, you know, just being out here, because this is what makes up the OpenText business. It's one big family.
It is. It is. And it's always good to be back out there. I heard you speak earlier on stage about how nice it is after COVID.
Yes.
Getting back out, meeting people face to face, hearing the stories, because it's the success stories and also the challenges that we can help customers with that make this the high value.
Tell us about the power of these partnerships that you guys have got, because you've got some really high-powered companies, South African companies, and across your region, it's replicated. And this is the backbone of OpenText, right? And making the success of the products.
Indeed, indeed. And I've been in a few meetings on the sidelines with people like Harry and Seppa and the team, talking with these partners. It's a good reminder that a lot of these partners were how we started our engagements with customers. They represented OpenText in the region long before we put our logo on a build-in and set up shop. So it's obviously foundational for us, and will continue to be so as they represent us with our customers in the region.
It's been a very interesting evolution. You touched on COVID a second ago, but the world has changed so dramatically, right? What are your partners telling you? What conversations are they having with their customers? Because that feedback you take into your developers, and you research and develop, and you build new products. But what conversations are you having with partners?
Look, this morning's session on main stage highlighted exactly the sort of conversations we're having. And that is, we see we've gone through the digitisation, or we're still going through.
Yes.
I think it'll be quite a while as we keep seeing the effects of cloud computing on how our customers consume and deploy technology. But that move for the digital transformation with COVID, that fast move, has created the challenge around cybersecurity and etc. I remember a good adage. People say, why do bank robbers rob banks? And the answer is because that's where the money is.
Exactly.
Well, now all these businesses are online, and they need to make sure they've got their digital locks fitted. So that's probably number one at the moment.
Yeah, and it's scary because when you look at the World Economic Forum and all of these places, that's the number one business risk today is cybersecurity. So you've got to make sure that the data that you have within your organization is properly secured. Otherwise, it could be disastrous. And we've seen the breaches that have happened. And people say it's not when, but it's if. It's not if, it's when.
Yeah.
But it's certainly there. The other theme that was coming up over and over again is AI. And of course, at OpenText, with your recent acquisition of Micro Focus, this is now embedded in everything that you do, which is so important to understand, is that the customer is benefiting from that at the end of the day.
Yeah, look, I think we're at the start of our new financial year. We started the 1st of July. At sales kickoff, we saw the company's direction laid out to us by our CEO and ELT team members, and AI is absolutely critical to what we'll be delivering throughout the year. Expect to see good things at OpenText World Las Vegas in a couple of weeks. That's our second quarter. Release cycle 23.4, fourth quarter release.
Okay.
We operate our cloud and our on-prem now on 90-day release cycles to bring innovation out to customers as rapidly as we can. So expect to see some good things on stage in the next coming weeks as we take that first release step out in October. But it's certainly going to change business. Cloud has changed.
Yeah.
And generational AI is going to change it all again. So, and I don't think we know fully yet where it's going. I think there's still a lot of innovation yet to happen, a lot of discovery, but it's very promising. I think we can really drive some productivity gains both for our partners and our customers.
No doubt about it. And what I love about what OpenText is doing is that you understand what your customers want, you're giving them the tools to focus on their business, but at the same time allow the technology in the background to be able to do that work and unlock the value, because that's what organizations are talking about today. Help us unlock value within our organization, and you're doing that exactly through your different product stack.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's quite nice to be able to share with customers all the disciplines and all the capabilities we've had to develop as a software business. As Harry said today, again on main stage, we're all now in the software development game. We all have a stake in it. So it's good to be able to share that with customers.
Yeah.
And that leadership position.
Now, Lee is from Australia, from Sydney, Australia to be exact. And we've got some very important sporting activities coming up pretty soon. I mean, I love the rivalry between South Africa and Australia all of these years. And, I can't tell you the stress levels I've had when we've lost to a few balls and a few wickets at, various cricket ODIs, etc., etc. Let's not go into that. I'm still in therapy. But the Rugby World Cup's going to be a fantastic tournament.
Indeed, indeed. Look, I think what's lovely about the friendship, but also the rivalry between Australia and South Africa. It's in good nature. It's competitive, but I think we look forward to competing again and beating you. So I apologise in advance. I apologise in advance.
No problem. Quick trivia question. When was the last time Australia won a Rugby World Cup?
Oh, okay. Well,
all right, let's leave it there then. Thank you for joining us, folks. Lovely to have Lee Gale in the studio with us. We'll be back shortly.
The changing climate is the greatest issue of our time. OpenText customers are already innovating, using the digital world to protect the physical one. So together, we can be climate innovators.
Hello, welcome back to the OpenText Summit. And you know, we've been playing hard in terms of the amount of presentations and the insights we've been sharing. They've been absolutely fascinating. But it's also important to have some downtime and some fun time as well at these kind of conferences. And there's no shortage of it here at the OpenText Summit. And one of the key attractions has been the team from Mercedes-Benz, who are part of the theme actually, talking about sustainability. They've brought some of their latest cutting-edge vehicles here, electric vehicles, and we are joined by Cornelius. And how do I pronounce your names? I know Cornelius, and you've shortened your name.
Am I right?
Vash.
Yash.
Yash and Cornelius. Listen, guys, thanks for coming, firstly, and it's been great to have Mercedes-Benz here. What have you brought to the summit?
Okay, so we brought the EQA 250 and the EQB 350.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is it? What do they do? What's the difference between the two?
Okay, so the EQA is a GLA. It's a SUV, it's an electric version of a GLA.
Okay.
Pretty much front-wheel driven car, your city urban electric vehicle. And then the EQB is the more spacious one. It's the B-class equivalent, you know, so it's the much bigger one, much family-orientated vehicle, being a formatic vehicle. So it's quite much more spacious inside and a nicer drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, people have been fascinated by the vehicles, and I love Mercedes-Benz as a brand, and I've been watching the evolution in EV. These are the first EV vehicles in the country from Mercedes-Benz. I think there have been a couple more, but there's certainly quite a few more coming through the pipeline, right?
So?
What are your favorite features about these cars? I mean, for me, driving an electric car the first time, I just love how quiet it is. And the fact that I'm able to charge it, and of course the range is important.
Yeah.
We talk about range anxiety, not a problem for your brand.
It's not a problem for our brand. The general range in more or less the vehicles, on a full charge you get a capacity of more or less about a 400 kilometer range.
Yeah.
For me, the most phenomenal thing is the power in the vehicle. So
Yes.
the moment you press your accelerator, you feel that vroom and getting into it. It is instant. And the moment you tap off on the accelerator, the vehicle automatically goes into a slow mode. So it's like quick brake, basically.
Yeah.
Just that the lights at the back don't come on. So that's
But-
the only thing that you got to be wary about.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's a very fun vehicle to drive.
And it's got all the luxury and safety features that you'd find in any other Mercedes-Benz.
In most of the normal Mercedes-Benz.
So for me, a lot of people when they talk about EV, because let's be honest, most people haven't driven an EV. They've had the opportunity to drive it here, and they must go, wow, it's so cool to drive an electric vehicle. But the one concern that people have is, and they joke about Eskom and all that sort of thing, and range anxiety, I'm going to run out of energy, which is not the case, right? Because if you look at the average person who commutes every day, I don't think we do more than 100 kilometers. I mean, do yourself a favor if you're watching this, before you go and book a test drive at Mercedes-Benz on these electric vehicles, is that when you look at range anxiety, just reset your odometer in the morning and look at how many kilometers you're doing on average. Because at the end of the day, you don't have to fill that battery to capacity when you finish the day, because you might have driven 150 kilometers, and it's like charging your cell phone. You top up what's left on the energy.
In most cases, most of the people that obviously purchase the vehicles, they do come through with the charging port that is installed at their home. So it's like an overnight charging of your cell phone. If you have that discipline, the moment your vehicle is in the garage, just plug it in, it charges overnight or charges at your earliest convenience.
Yeah. And of course, I'm hearing a lot about these superchargers. So do Merc dealerships, for example, support these superchargers that I can pop in for a coffee, plug it into one of your chargers at your dealerships? Do you guys have that infrastructure yet?
Yes, at my dealership, there is what you call a rapid charge, which is DC charging, direct current charging. You just pop in for a coffee, and we're talking if you're sitting at a battery of 50% to 100 or 80%, maximum 1 hour, and you're out of there. Yeah. And that's
pretty good, eh?
What we like about the cars is that as you're driving with the cars, you get what you call energy recuperation. So as you put your foot off the pedal, as it regenerates the energy onto the battery. So that's one of the features I like about the car. So yeah.
Where's your dealership?
Mercedes-Benz in Centurion.
In Centurion. There you go. Those are the guys to visit. And Yash, when can we expect to see more models coming through in South Africa? You're from Mercedes-Benz head office, right?
No. Mercedes-Benz Centurion.
Oh, you're both from Centurion?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we both
Yash and Cornelius from Centurion.
Yeah.
Go and visit them.
Please.
When are there going to be more models coming out this year? What's the rollout?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the EQE, EQS coming out. We've got the launch coming out. So Mercedes-Benz South Africa head office, they are the ones that are running with that. We've already got the EQE in the country. We actually sold an EQE 53 at the dealership last week.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot of cars.
How much did that go for?
We're probably looking at about plus minus 2.5 million rand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did some people buy any cars yet today, or potentially?
There's potential. There's a lot of potential at the Summit.
Yeah. Because the thing is, once you drive one of these vehicles, you get hooked, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. The drive, it's comfortable. As you switch on the ignition, you're like, wow, it makes no sound. And the ambient lighting inside.
All you hear is...
Not even.
Not even?
Not even. You
Wow.
just literally press the stop-start button, and then all the lights illuminate in the vehicle. The best drive is at night, because you feel you are just under the stars. It's beautiful.
No, you feel like in a movie set, right? Are you able to, with these range of vehicles, are you able to adjust and change your lights in the
Yes,
car
you
as
are.
well?
Everything is adjustable in terms of your brightness, how bright you want it to be, if you
Love
want to
it,
go
love
into
it.
safety mode, that kind of thing.
Fantastic. Yash and Cornelius, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Both of them, go and look them up. Centurion is where you need to be, Mercedes-Benz Centurion. Go and check out those electric vehicles. They're absolutely amazing. And it's been great having Mercedes-Benz here at the OpenText Summit. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Robin Lichetta here, tagging out Aki. And joining me in the OpenText studio is Gunther Smith from Pick n Pay. He joins us today in Joburg, having traveled up from the City Bowl. So thank you, Gunther. Really do appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Thanks for the invitation.
Great
Happy
stuff.
to be here.
So I mentioned you are with Pick n Pay, but perhaps you can just give a bit of background about what your role is there.
Yes, sure. I work for Pick n Pay as a test infrastructure manager. So providing the whole replication of the estate basically from the production side into the testing infrastructure and supporting our automation engineers, as well as our manual testers, as well as new hardware, anything else that might come into play.
Great stuff. So I'm assuming, I've seen Pick n Pay has been on a real push as far as crypto is concerned, and accepting that at its various locations. Is that something that you were perhaps playing a part in?
We've been part of the testing process with it, as well as integration with some of our switching partners. I must admit, the whole planning of it and putting the whole thing together, that lies more with our business analysts and project managers.
Sure, fair enough. So now that we've gotten the pleasantries out of the way,
Yes.
Pick n Pay isn't our sole focus for our discussion today. We're talking about Vic IT Consulting, who is, I guess, a partner, for lack of a better term, with Pick n Pay. How did that relationship kind of begin, and how have things been going so far?
Well, that's quite interesting that you asked that. About 4 years ago at the very same summit, but then I believe Micro Focus was still the summit name. We met in Johannesburg.
Still allowed to say Micro Focus.
Micro Focus, still allowed, perfect. So we met in Johannesburg. We actually came to interview Vic IT because we were looking at a potential partner for licensing some of the tool sets and also seeing what other solutions could come out of it. And now 4 years later, we're still walking the road. Very happy with it. Great support, and they've been aiding us, not just in tool sets, but we've been able to really build a relationship beyond a vendor and a customer point of view, but really a relationship. Human-to-human interaction where if we need something, they're just a phone call away.
Yeah, I think that's that human element is something that's really important.
It is. It is.
Events like this, they haven't been the norm for the past 3 years. They're kind of back, and I guess people are engaging more, networking more, and I'm assuming that's what Pick n Pay has also been doing here at this event.
Yeah, 100%. We're here to see what's out there, to just get a feel again for what's on the market, also support OpenText and see where the whole platform is going with the new AI generation and all the cloud features that they're putting out there. It's important, I think, that you need to engage and understand what's happening out there, not just from a new market perspective, but also from an existing partner to see where you can take solutions in business.
Speaking of existing partners then, VicIT, what has that relationship yielded so far? I'm sure there are instances where there have been challenges along the way. How have they been able to help you guys tackle those?
Yeah, no, look, we've had a couple of challenges. One of the first things that I think solidified our relationship was specifically a point where we wanted to get ISO messaging on EFT platforms with one of the Micro Focus tool sets, service virtualization, to try and intercept it and basically turn those messages around, take away the endpoints and bring it a bit more in-house, that fastens up the repetitive cycle of the testing and just keeps everything flowing. So VicIT was amazing. They tried to really go beyond the means and get that information, see what's feasible, what's not. And there's a lot of back and forth that went on over multiple periods of time. But eventually, for example, and this is one of those things, VicIT came back and advised, we can create a solution, but it's not necessarily feasible financially against what's out there and what our goals was. And as tough as it was to understand and get that feedback, it allowed us as a testing organism in Pick n Pay to really define what our scope is, go back to the business and to the stakeholders involved in the request and understand this path is not the one for us. Now, even though that was a letdown or a negative response we got back, the positive power in that, in not wasting more time, opened up a whole new roadmap for us to follow.
Yeah, I'm assuming that a collaborative effort with someone like VicIT is really important for Pick n Pay.
It is. It is. I think it's very important for VicIT and all of our partners. You have to have that relationship. It's far beyond just a putting a price down and getting a payment. With VicIT, really, they've been supporting us, and it's a human aspect that you need.
Great stuff. I guess looking forward now, perhaps if we do get a chance to chat again in the next OpenText Summit, what are yourselves and VicIT kind of working on, perhaps, that you guys can mention?
We can't mention a lot at the moment, but we are looking. VicIT has helped us implement ALM Octane and start putting more into the cloud. Currently, we're trying to focus more onto hope I don't get into trouble for saying this, but into the shift left phase of testing, where we're trying to really push that agile development of automation packs and everything as it comes out, as the developers are creating it and as it's being introduced into our dev space. And VicIT has really been helping us to work through that process and look forward towards what potential tools we might need, licensing and savings of costs.
That's good to hear. I guess that kind of brings us to the conclusion of what we wanted to chat to you about. I think perhaps moving forward, as far as Pick n Pay is concerned, the last thing I wanted to find out from you is just the cloud environment. I'm not too sure what Pick n Pay is utilizing at the moment. Is it still an AWS system or?
Okay, so from a cloud aspect, a majority of our systems run in the AWS domain. We do have some Micro Focus tool sets that is isolated to their own cloud hosting, but I'd say probably guess 90-95% is AWS hosted.
Great stuff. And what would, I guess, I'm not sure if you're able to talk to this, but what would, for example, OpenText's recent relationship with Google Cloud mean for Pick n Pay potentially?
Well, potentially we haven't really looked into that option as yet.
Fair enough, yeah.
It's been placed on the table and some mentions have been dropped around it, conversations, but I don't think we're at a point from a testing division at least where we are already focused on what the forward goal is. But pretty sure with VicIT we'll be knowing very soon where we're going to go with that if we're going to utilize it.
Great stuff. Gunther, I do appreciate your time as always. And I think, it's from the sounds of it, yourselves, Pick and Pay and Vic IT, are really building a strong relationship. So we're interested to see what happens in the future.
100%. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to wait and see where this runs. I'm pretty sure it's going to be some.
The changing climate is the greatest issue of our time. OpenText customers are already innovating, using the digital world to protect the physical one. So together, we can be climate innovators.
Hello and welcome back to the OpenText Summit. Aki Anastasiou here, and I'm joined by Tsepa Ramoriting, who is the Vice President for Sales for Africa, who was the first person to speak at the conference today, opening up the conference. Tsepa, what a great day it's been, eh?
Aki, it's been a fantastic day. This morning we spent with a number of our customers and incredible attendance. I didn't expect to have so many customers and partners attending. So the support we've had today has been incredible. What stands out for you today? There have been so many discussions, so many different talks. What stood out for you? I think two things for me stood out for me. One is around where technology is heading, in particular how AI is going to influence a great deal around what we do as human beings and how we interact with technology in the main. And the second thing is the importance of why our customers should take this whole digital transformation strategy seriously, in particular around protecting themselves from a cybersecurity standpoint, and thirdly, adopting aspects of cloud as a way of fast-tracking their penetration and go-to-market in that regard.
And that's where your role as a VP of Sales comes in, because you look after quite an important region, and it's great to see the optimism on emerging markets, because that for me was one of the highlights as well. But how are you helping these customers unlock the value through this OpenText ecosystem?
There's a number of ways in which we're doing it, Aki. Firstly, I think we are looking at ways in understanding our customers' businesses and what our customers are trying to achieve. And in the main, it starts with firstly that engagement at a C-suite level, where we actually unpack to understand the key strategic priorities that our CEO, CXO, or Chief Digital Officer is trying to drive within the organization as a first point. And the second point that we do is we obviously want to drive a value-based conversation. And a value-based conversation is based around what return is our customers going to get by embarking on a process of adopting our technology, for example. So
unlocking that value.
Unlocking that value at a financial level, for that matter. So we can get to the level of actually building an entire business case to the point where we get to the rent and sense of the cost and what we believe is a cost benefit. Or it could be driven on the back of penetrating new market in terms of new revenue streams that come in, which is the whole digital transformation aspect of it. Or it could be an aspect of actually saving customer better. So, i.e., you have got churn in your organization as a particular customer, and you realize that by improving the manner in which you engage your customers, it could reduce your churn. Those aspects of efficiencies that you gain are very important, and there's ways in which we can measure them.
Now, what's interesting for me is how you have got AI embedded in every single process. That's invisible, it's happening in the background, and that itself is creating incredible customer experience, improving on the customer experience, and it's also making businesses a lot more agile and a lot more fluid, so they can actually focus on what they do best.
Correct. And I think part of actually what Suren's messaging was all about, and I think Harry Hetwell has touched on it, is around this whole element of AI and what AI can achieve. And in respect of actually service in particular, we're seeing great opportunities where we're embedding AI technologies AI into the technologies we actually sell.
Yes.
Because they are improving the efficiency and the manner in which our customers can serve their customers, or they can serve the citizen in a way. So if you take, for example, the element of service management, which is the technology we call SMAX. In that area, we believe there's great opportunity where we can unlock value by automating a great deal of the processes that a human being would be doing, and rather relieving the individuals to go and focus on higher value activities that they would otherwise need to do. Take a simple exercise around, in any organizations, people change passwords. Password change is a simple process, right? Why should actually somebody be talking to an individual or human being on the other end for a simple process? Why can't it be driven by an AI capability on the back from a machine learning perspective, given the fact that the technology has learned over time the typical type of challenges that people or individuals have when it comes to like end of the month password expires, people come on Monday morning, they've forgotten how to actually, what their previous, or how to change
It's
it.
happened to me before. I know, you arrive
For sure.
and a simple process like that, where you don't have access to your machine, how many work hours are lost from something like that? Whereas that whole process can be eliminated.
Exactly, but more importantly, Aki, is around why should you actually have somebody sitting, spending hours on the back of a call waiting for somebody to come and request a password change, whereas you can automate that process and it can be driven on the back of AI.
So there's a new customer that's watching over here, or there's somebody that is not using the full suite of OpenText's services. How does one start the conversation? Where does one go to OpenText, or obviously one of your partners that are over here? How do you start the conversation? How do you start the journey?
I think, Aki, there's a number of ways in which you can start it. First and foremost, I think we would want them to actually either reach out to us or reach out to our partners, and then we would have a conversation in really trying to understand, as I indicated earlier, what is the pain points? Yeah, at a C-suite level or at whichever level, but where are the pain points? Where are the key challenges in the business that you're trying to address? And then secondly, we then move it from actually going the next level is once we understand that, we can begin to actually demonstrate what it is that we can do and how we can help those customers to get over over the hurdles of some of the key pain points that they've got in their businesses and addressing them. And by the way, the one point I want to make here is that it doesn't have to be a big bang approach. I think we're done with massive projects that take forever to deliver value in the context of customers. Customers no longer have the patience, nor do they have budgets to accommodate long projects or long turnaround initiatives that are yielding value only after a certain period. We can begin to go into targeted areas, go and look for low-hanging fruits where we engage with you. We can prove value very quickly within a 90-day, 120-day type period, and that way you begin to then go back into business to demonstrate the fact that you're gaining momentum and value and progress further up the chain.
Well,
and also the last point, you can actually get in at any point, at any level. So if, let's say, today, pain is sitting around, security is a key challenge, right? Let's start looking at ways in which we can begin to secure the organization in a particular way, right? And moving up the value chain into the platform side of development, for example, where maybe it may be some of the areas of challenge.
I like what you said. It's a simple approach. There's no time today. You can't start rolling out projects and saying, we're going to start seeing the results in 12 months or 18 months from now. This is almost instantaneous.
Absolutely.
And start with those low-hanging fruits. That's such great advice from Tsepa, who joined as a Vice President of Sales at OpenText. Thank you so much, sir.
Only a pleasure.
Good to see you. A great conference. We'll be back with some more interviews in a short while.
Thank you.
Decisions. You make them all day, every day. From your commute to who you hire. But these days, with so much information out there, it feels like we're making them in the dark. That's where we come in. OpenText makes decision-making feel possible again. We make the inconceivable understandable, so you can power your people, connect your partners, and protect your data. Tomorrow's tough calls suddenly seem a little easier. We call it the Information Advantage. Unlock yours today with OpenText. It's the best decision you'll make.
And welcome back to Johannesburg and welcome to the OpenText Summit. It's Aki Anastasiou welcoming you back to the studio where we're interviewing some of the executives, some of the big players in today's conference. It's been absolutely amazing what's happening right now. Lunch has already been done and we've got the breakout sessions and people are attending and learning all about the new OpenText offerings that are out there and how OpenText can assist customers achieve their goals and unlock value. My guest right now is Radwa Hassan, and Radwa is the head of marketing and communications for emerging markets in Latin America. And it's such an important market and such an exciting market. Radwa, lovely to see you. And you've been really instrumental in making this conference happen. What are your thoughts so far today? What is standing out for you?
Thank you so much, Aki. And It's really a great forum to see all the customers and partners in one place. And the most important part is that we are bringing our combined customers for OpenText and Heritage Micro Focus for the first time in South Africa. So this is really exciting for us, all of the team at OpenText and the partners. And the most exciting part as well is that we have you with us. We have a very rich agenda, and I think so far throughout the day, customers were very engaged. The presentations by Harry, by Soren, and also by Miles, I think it was such an engaging one.
You know, we've had such a diversity of conversations here, from women in tech to how do you unlock the true value in this ecosystem, the OpenText ecosystem. But what's really become very acute is the importance of, and Harry stated this right at the beginning, of how important emerging markets are in the bigger scheme of things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at emerging markets, this is, I think, where the higher growth across the globe, you will see it, because these are markets that are very eager to grow and to develop new opportunities, to adopt technology faster. So you will see it in the Middle East, here in South Africa. It's also a market that has a large scale of younger generation.
Yes.
This is where the younger population is really the biggest base here. So adoption for technology, trying new things is, I think, the key. And we were talking about earlier in Harry's presentation about the Aviator. This is our new AI feature that's going to be plugged into most of our portfolio. So I think it's really exciting about the new opportunities that we're bringing for the combined business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for me, it's just great to see, you know, how important OpenText sees these emerging markets, because ultimately this is the future of your business, right? You're going to see this incredible growth. And you really are investing in these markets, which is wonderful. You know, you've got other companies, and I'm not naming any other companies, but, you know, it's business. And when you start becoming a global company, I mean, you guys serve, you know, hundreds of countries, but you've really put your money where your mouth is and invested in these emerging markets. And that, for me, is fantastic.
Yeah, and this the OpenText Summit is a signature forum or activity that we do in the key markets.
Yes.
And if you look at emerging markets, so far since June, this is the second event, and then we have another summit that's happening in Poland in October, and a lot more are coming to the key markets across emerging. That's a very strong indication as how we perceive emerging markets as a growing market that's full of potential.
Yes.
So really a lot more to come into emerging markets. With this, we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, and you know, I love talking to people like you, because you see things from so many different perspectives. As a lead in marketing and communications with a massive brand like OpenText, you know, you've got Africa, you've got South Africa, and Africa, you know, can be broken down into different regions. You know, you cover Latin America, you cover the Middle East. How do we all compare? I mean, do we all do business differently, or is it done the same way? And obviously a country like Dubai or Saudi Arabia, for example, they've got different priorities. They're on a different trajectory to where we are, but we all bring something different to the picture, don't we?
Definitely. And I think the one similarity that you see across are the challenges that the customers are going through.
Yeah.
Each customer is faced with multiple challenges, and you see them in the different markets. I think what these markets bring together is how we can take these challenges and bring the best practices to our collective customers to make sure that we're really working on this agenda faster. So it's what brings the customers together, their need to grow, and the speed of the technology. That's also another challenge, because you see from 3 years ago, did anyone hear about ChatGPT?
Exactly.
Or how AI can really be pushed into that technology agenda that fast? I don't think we ever imagined that it would accelerate that fast. So the adoption of technology is fast, and CIOs and the customers within the technology space have a mandate to go as fast.
Yes.
And they're faced with multiple technologies, so how to prioritize. I think our role comes here is how we can become the consultant for our customers to guide them through this challenging time.
Quite right. And at the same time, being ahead of this curve that's happening, Because as chat, AI has been around for a long time. OpenText has been using it for a long time, but it's communicating these changes and sharing it with your customers at events like this, giving them almost like a view into where OpenText is going and help your customers ultimately unlock that value, because that's what it's all about. That's why they're here. They want to come and hear how OpenText is going to help me as a customer.
Absolutely, and that's our always first thing that we want to answer. How we can make sure that we answer the customer's questions and bring that what's in it for them to work with OpenText and even to adopt new technologies. So,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Radwa Hassan, who joins us in the studio. She's here from Dubai. She is the lead for marketing and communications. She serves a massive region. How many countries in your region? Have you done that calculation yet?
I would say more than 180 countries.
Oh my gosh, 180 countries. That's one incredible portfolio, covering Middle East and Africa, covering Latin America, 180 countries. Wow. I'm sure you have lots of sleepless nights, but you're doing a fantastic job. That's a big portfolio. Thank you so much, Radwa.
Thank you, Aki. Thank you so much.
The changing climate is the greatest issue of our time. OpenText customers are already innovating, using the digital world to protect the physical one. So together, we can be climate innovators.
Welcome back. We are near the end of today's OpenText Africa Summit 2023. But we still have plenty of insightful guests that are going to be joining us in the OpenText studio. And that brings us to my man on the left here. This is Dumisani Mukanasi from Dugson Consulting. First of all, thanks for taking the time to join us. We do appreciate it.
Thank you very much for hosting me.
And obviously, as I said, we're kind of nearing the end of today's event. What have the experience been like for you?
Yeah, I think the function has been great. So much exposure to our customers. It's always great to host our customers in a specific event. We being the partner of OpenText, I think this gives us a good opportunity to network, engage our customers on some of our product that we sell. And we've seen so many things that, in terms of the Vision 2030, is involved, stuff that all our customers should know about what is coming up, and then they all get geared for it.
Perfect. You mentioned Vision 2030. That sounds a really interesting point. But before we get to that, perhaps your role at Dugson, kind of what are you overseeing there?
Yeah, so I'm the president and CEO of Dugson Consulting, which has got headquarters in South Africa, and we've got office in Pretoria and Cape Town, Dubai and Luxembourg.
So you could pretty much set the agenda for the entire company?
Yes.
So you mentioned Vision 2030. What kind of conversations are you having around that at this event?
Yeah, so I think for us is to making sure that the companies or the organization are geared to what the transformation is all about. Specifically, you could have seen from the auditorium, from the presentation perspective, about the generative AI in terms of what the solutions are going to look like in terms of the problem solving, applying generative AI, and I think the takeout to that is that all the organizations should be geared in making sure that they explore a lot of the technologies that have got AI to make sure that they stay relevant by 2030 and achieving all the digital transformation that every company will want to achieve.
I'm assuming that falls under Dugson's purview as well, like you guys are really focusing on AI?
Yeah, actually that is also one of our key strategic intent in wanting to assist our customers realize this vision, and also internally to make sure that we drive this type of innovation to be available in terms of the solution that we'll offer our customers.
Understood. So obviously AI, although it is a very pertinent topic for 2023, it is an offering that OpenText has made available to customers and partners for some time now.
Yeah.
As far as how Dugson is interacting with its customers, how are you trying to direct conversations around AI? Because a lot can get lost in the ether as to there's a lot of misconceptions, or perhaps there's a lot of rhetoric around AI, but how does Dugson try and kind of steer the conversation to ensure that AI is being used to supercharge a business's efficiency?
Yeah, so I think in the space that we play in terms of technologies that we reuse, sell, and implement from OpenText as our OEM, I think one of the technology we use there is UFT, which has got some AI capabilities, and we advise our client all the time to make sure that they must be able to explore those capabilities from the UFT in terms of realizing or recognizing some of the objects that are being changing from the frames and so forth. So I think we are driving our customers to make sure that in the services that we are providing them, we enable that kind of artificial intelligence capabilities within the technologies that we are supporting in their environment. Yeah.
Understood. We've mentioned AI quite a bit. Where does cloud kind of fit into the picture for Dougson?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're already engaging with our customers now on some of the technologies that we implement to start moving them into the clouds. Some of the clouds that we have, except the Azure and the likes. We have our partners in South Africa that have got the data centers in South Africa. For instance, if a company doesn't, from a POPI compliance perspective, they don't want their data to be hosted outside, we are able to then sell the type of cloud solutions that is hosted in South Africa. So yeah, there's a few customers that we're engaging on migrating some of their licenses from on-prem to the cloud, either on demand or maybe from service SaaS solutions and things like that. So yeah, so the drive in the cloud strategy as well is what we are driving and advising our customers to be on. And I think for the future, for the hosting and the understanding and the learning of the technologies will then reside mostly in the cloud strategy. So I think every company that's got these technologies running on-prem should be able to fast track the strategy to move into the cloud.
I understood. You mentioned Azure.
Yeah.
I wanted to perhaps bring up Google Cloud because that's a company that OpenText recently struck up a relationship with.
Yes,
Are you excited about that potential?
Yeah, we are excited because I think that opens a lot of opportunity for us and also for OpenText in making sure that some of the technologies that Google has and OpenText can be able to leverage to the cloud will then give us the benefit of opening some of the Microsoft customers into selling some of the OpenText and hosted in the Google Cloud. So I think for us it's a good benefit, and that will add value for enhancing or growing our business.
Yeah, 100%. I think having kind of all the major hyperscalers operating in South Africa in some
100%,
capacity
100%,
can be great for businesses here.
Yes.
Perhaps looking forward, obviously, I would assume that Dougson will probably be a partner or featured in some way at next year's OpenText Africa Summit.
Yeah.
In 12 months' time, what do you kind of see the picture for Dougson being? How are you guys looking to evolve or perhaps grow?
Yeah, I think already in some of the domains that OpenText offers as a service from a technology perspective, we have become a delivery partner on some of them. And obviously there are key elements that we've discussed with OpenText for us to become strategic partners on those elements. And I think by the time we meet again in 12 months for the same event, we will be big and wild in terms of what we offer our customers and so forth. And Dougsun's brand will be all out there to be the preferred partner to be able to implement all of these, preferred from the customer and of course from an OpenText perspective, growing the relationship.
Understood. Yeah, I think a lot of customers or partners are really excited about what the future holds, especially with OpenText, and I'm pleased to hear it's the same for Dougson. We do appreciate you taking the time. I think there's a lot to come. So hopefully, when we have that kind of chat 12 months down the line, you can really tell us about what's been going on.
Of course,
so again, thanks to Dumasani for his time. We do appreciate it as always. He's, however, not our last guest that we'll be having on. We're having a few more to kind of discuss today's summit, what the future holds, and what OpenText will mean for South Africa's business landscape moving forward.
And welcome as we reach the end of a very busy day here at the OpenText Summit in Johannesburg. It's been absolutely amazing, and it's been, for me, I've learned so many things about OpenText, about where the market is going, and it's certainly been absolutely fascinating understanding the conversation and where it's going. And Harry is with me here, and Harry is the Vice President for Emerging Markets. And I need to apologize firstly, Harry, because let me tell you folks what happened, because you don't see the stuff that happens behind the scene, but this is like a nightmare in terms of starting an event where the MC an hour before the event spills coffee on the first person who's going to be talking to his event. So this is a white shirt. There was coffee all over his shirt. There was coffee all over his suit. And fortunately, Harry's hotel was just around the corner, and he managed to get there just in time. Change shirt. That was incredible. Yeah. The transition, the way you did it in an hour. Harry, I apologize.
No, you don't need to apologize at all.
No,
yeah? So because at the end you did me a favor, right? Because I was in the morning really tired. Yeah. So and I either I need a coffee or I need a shock, and you gave me a shock, and it was spot on afterwards. Yeah. So from that perspective, it really helped me. Yeah, so to jump on stage and to run my presentation.
It's been a fantastic conference up to now. I mean, you look after such an important global market at OpenText. Vice President, Open Emerging Markets. I mean, how big are these emerging markets?
Yeah, look, emerging markets is a list of almost more than 100 countries, basically. Yeah. So, yes. But it is clear that we are focusing on the most valuable countries like South Africa, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, Israel, and Poland, Czech, whatever. So these are, I think, the most and the biggest countries we have in that list. Yeah.
Yeah, and for you, I mean, I was amazed. It's over 100 countries you mentioned, and what he did say was something very nice this morning, is that the one country he looks forward to going to on holiday is South Africa. So thank you for promoting our beautiful country. When you talk to these emerging markets, it's so interesting that every country is on a different trajectory to what we've been talking about today. How do you put it into perspective? We're all going in the right direction. Some are slightly ahead, some are slightly behind. How do you put it into perspective from an OpenText point of view?
Yeah, I think to your point, I think that all the countries we have business with are moving into the right direction. I think, yeah, all together. Yeah, and I think everybody is moving with their own pace, right? And it depends a bit on what is the political situation, what is the economic situation, what is at the end the vision and the strategy of the country. So that all makes a difference, right? So, but I think we see in all countries that they are trying to establish a digital government. They are trying to establish as well a better service to the citizens and all of that. And all the companies in these countries are trying to establish as well a digital business model. Yeah. So from that perspective, they have a lot in common, but they are of course different. And yes. I think that makes the whole world, I think, really an exciting place to be, right? Because they are all different.
Now you've set yourself some very big targets. At your start of your speech, you mentioned that OpenText is a $6 billion company at the moment. You've had this fantastic acquisition of Micro Focus, and your target is to double this in the next few years.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So because look, as a company of that size and with our ambition, I think we cannot rest. Yeah. So it is clear that yes, of course, I think we are already through the integration of Micro Focus. Yeah. So we have a plan. I think we are on track of that plan. But it is clear that we don't rest. Yeah. So and we want to bring the whole portfolio of these two companies together. We want to add value to our company customers. And yes, of course, it is clear that on the one hand side we want to generate organic growth, and it is clear that sooner or later, I'm pretty sure that we will find as well other interesting targets, maybe for another acquisition. You never know.
Well, you never know, but the point is that you guys have got some fantastic products right now.
Yeah.
Your trajectory and what you're doing to unlock value within your customers is impressive. The fact that you've got this generative AI embedded in everything that you do, it just means great value for your customers. And these partnerships that we have today, you can just see they're already generating, and it's not small organizations, these are big organizations within the South African ecosystem.
Yeah, of course, yeah, because just after my presentation, I was dragged into a customer conversation, and they said, Harry, I love the idea that you're bringing generative AI to our technology. We own already your technology, and we are looking forward to get the productivity element out of it by adding generative AI to it. Yeah, because I said, we have a lot of boring stuff to do, like building test cases. At the moment, everybody is doing that basically manually.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but why does that need to be a manual job, right? So I think generative AI can help us in that case and in many others as well.
Yeah.
And that will drive productivity and will help us and the companies in South Africa to be more successful.
What conversations are you having with customers from emerging markets? What are their pain points that they have? What are they trying to achieve, and how are you helping them achieve this?
Look, I think one big pain point for all of them and all of us is cyber crime, right? Because we are all sitting in a way in a digital world, and all of us are a target. Yeah, so because for the bad guys on that side, it is a business model, and I think we need to help our customers to protect them. Yeah, so and I think that is one key element of our strategy as well. Yeah, so because we want to be one of the top players in the cybersecurity space. Yeah, so and we want to further enhance our portfolio as well with generative AI. Yeah, so that we can, let's say, improve on that side as well. That is one big pain point. And I think another big pain point is as well that, look, if you live in a hybrid world, you want to manage your applications on both sides, on off cloud and cloud, and it needs to be, let's say, in a kind of agile way or elastic way so that you can manage it properly. So, and these are, I think, the main challenges.
That's fantastic. But you remain very optimistic, and I'm just looking at the company trajectory and where you guys are going. You mentioned some acquisitions as well. It's an exciting time to be in this business, isn't it?
It is.
Because what you're doing is you're really helping customers unlock tremendous value, and you're actually helping their businesses grow. So it's an ecosystem which is a great partnership.
Yeah. No, look, to be in these days in IT or in the IT industry is really exciting. And I stay positive overall in general and I can explain why. Because first of all, the whole world population is still growing. And everybody, each single individual on the ground wants to make it up to a wealth. Which means the global economy is growing. It will continue to grow. Maybe we have seen this year and last year, let's say, a hit, because of the inflation, because of the interest and all of that. So, but I think on the long run, the global economy and GDP will grow. And that's true for South Africa, that's true for many of my other countries. And that's why I stay positive. And all of that is, let's say, driven a lot by digitalization. So that's why I'm absolutely positive.
You also mentioned in your initial opening remarks that amongst all of your emerging markets, Africa per se is just so unique, right? Because it's a young market, and you mentioned that economic growth. Europe has stalled a bit when you compare it to the US, but Africa's economic growth is really happening at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And then look, I think in some cases in a crisis, someone is a loser and some others are winners. And I think that Africa is absolutely a winner in the current crisis. Look, and the global world need to get a lot of things right. Climate change is one of them.
Yes.
And we cannot get the climate change right without Africa, of course. And that's why I see that Africa in the next decade, they will definitely benefit from all what needs to happen. And of course, they are at the moment benefiting as well from all the crises we have.
Yeah, and all of the resources that are coming out of the ground from this continent, and absolutely.
Yeah. So all the minerals and all of that energy and natural resources is key for that growth.
It's difficult to predict where it's all going. And with generative AI, the pace at which it's moving is really quick, isn't it? When you look at the investments that OpenText is making in research and development, so this is significant stuff. Because you've got to be thinking ahead of your customer, you've got to be anticipating what the market's got to do, and that brings its own challenges. But you guys have got such a vast team of people, and you're investing in enormous amounts in resources to predict what the future is going to look like.
Yeah, but look, I think we have a strategy and we have a vision, so to establish a smart information management platform. And I think together with that vision, it really helps, to focus into the right direction. And I think also these summits here helps us as well to keep track, right? Because the customers are giving us feedback. Hey, by the way, I like that. So here is something what I need. So, and we are in constant conversation with our customers, basically to further refine, are we on the right track? Do we need to adjust it here and there? And then we are going into the future together with our customers, right? And I think that is the right thing to do. And then I'm pretty sure that the $1 billion we are investing in engineering is ending up in the right space.
Okay. What's keeping you awake at night? Apart from cyber security, and I'm sure that cyber is a big one that's keeping you awake at night. It keeps many executives awake at night, because I was looking at the Allianz Risk Monitor that comes out every year from Germany, and they're saying that everyone's expecting to have one big cyber event happen in their in the organization, and that is their biggest risk to business today, is cyber.
Yeah, look, cybersecurity is a big threat, I think, to all of us, but honestly, it doesn't really keep me awake, because I'm pretty sure that the world will pick up. Yeah. So because it is always, I know someone this side is ahead of the curve, someone the other side is ahead of the curve. I think it will be balanced and it will be managed in a way. Yeah. So I think at the moment, honestly, what really keeps me awake is that we can onboard quick enough the resources we need. Yeah, because with all the digitalizations going on around the world, we are already started to run out of resources, right?
Really?
So, yeah, really. So, and however, also in that regards, I believe that generative AI can help, right? So, because if you have limited resources, then you can become more productive by using generative AI. That should hopefully be a relief on that side of the issue, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, however, in general, globally, we see that in Japan, we see that in my markets, we see that in so many markets that we are really running out of IT skills. Yeah, and that is a serious issue. Yes, cloud can be one answer to it. Automation is another answer to it. Generative AI might be an answer, but we are still short in resources, honestly. And we have really a lot of open positions at the moment we are struggling to fill.
Well, I was looking at some of the stats saying globally, it's upward of 3.5 million openings in just the cybersecurity industry alone. Yeah. That's how acute the problem is at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is one of the reasons why companies are having these breaches, because they don't have enough people to look after their systems.
Of course.
Hence the reason, to your point, is about automating the process, which what OpenText does really well.
Absolutely. Look, and I think with all what we are doing, the whole world is getting more complex. Yeah, which means it is even harder then, to find, let's say, the right skills, and the right amount of these skills. Yeah, so it's really getting harder to fill that gap. Yeah, so but I think sooner or later the world need to figure it out. Yeah, so with all what we do.
Harry Adams, Vice President of Emerging Markets at OpenText. He's never going to forget me. I'm the guy that spilled coffee at him at the conference. Harry, safe travels.
And I will never forget this story in general. Yeah? So, and many others will do the same. Yeah.
It's amazing to see you. Thank you for joining us in South Africa. Hopefully see you very soon when you're back here. Thank you very much to Harry Adams, the Vice President of Emerging Markets at OpenText. Great to have him in South Africa. And it's great to have you as well, joining us live from this OpenText Summit being held in Bryanston, Johannesburg. Thank you.
The world of information is exponential. Business 2030 calls for total enterprise reinvention, human-centric work, new rules, new regulations. Let us help solve your most complex problems. It's time to get smarter with OpenText.
Afternoon and welcome back. Robin Chetty here again. I have tagged out Aki once more. And joining me in the OpenText studio are Chris Vasaki, Devil Duplessis. Gents, thanks for coming in. From what I understand, today was meant to be the 6th of September, but I've been told now it's actually the 6th of SMAX-tember. Excuse the awful puns. SMAX-tember, what is that all about?
Thanks, and thanks for joining us. A great question. So a couple of years ago, the previous Micro Focus, now OpenText, and some of the partner community thought of an idea of how do we communicate the message out and make great a marketplace for SMAX. We had a couple of ideas, and one of the guys came up with the idea of SMAX-tember, a month-long showcase of the product set, with sessions from the OEM, sessions from partners, as well as customers, and having customers get access to the system, play with the system, and then there's a little bit of a hackathon. And it morphed into a much more focused session where we've got customers as well as specific partners from the global community participating. There's a bit of a competition between the partners that partake in what is called SMAXperts. And yeah, it's basically a month-long showcase of SMAX and the capabilities of SMAX, as well as informing the global user community what's next for SMAX, and sharing best practice and good practice.
Understood. For ignorant people like myself, what is SMAX actually?
Right, so SMAX is a service management platform that covers a couple of use cases: ITSM, ESM, so IT service management, enterprise service management, asset management, from one platform, and embeds machine learning, AI, and automation. And it's a codeless environment, making it easy and allowing for things like citizen development and those type of things.
Great stuff. You mentioned Micro Focus there. Now that OpenText has acquired it, and I understand that the acquisition is still in its infancy, still a lot of, elements that need to be negotiated. but what's different from, I guess, SMAX Timber from last year compared to this year?
Well, first of all, you know, the breadth of customers out there and partners that actually participate.
Mm-hmm.
That's first and foremost, you know, the biggest value of it. But yeah, it's just trying to showcase, as Chris kind of mentioned, you know, the capabilities, and not only the capabilities, but where a larger community out there can learn from one another,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and leverage off one's learnings and mistakes. So yeah, it's a wonderful initiative. A lot of additional collateral out there in the marketplace, previous apps that has been written. Yeah, and it's a great journey, and yeah, we're looking forward to next year. If it's anything like this year, then yeah, next year is going to be brilliant.
Perhaps you can speak a bit more on that, or what has kind of the engagement locally been for SMAX Timber?
Well, I think Chris can maybe kind of elaborate a little bit more on that. But yeah, we've got a whole bunch of customers like University of Pretoria. We've got a whole bunch of partners out there. The process is very interesting. So basically, you need to come up with an idea on how to write an app. Usually, it is something not specific to the legacy ITSM. So you come up with an app, how it can support your business. You need to document it. You go through the development cycle. You can lean on your peers how to go about to write the app. Then you need to make a proper video of it. And then, you know, the rivalry between the participants is quite steep, and everyone's looking forward to winning a prize.
On the prize, when is kind of SMAX Timber wrapping up? When are you guys going to be announcing a winner and kind of showcasing what has been developed?
Well, I think there's a panel. I think, Chris, you've got more insight into that than what Dean and them do.
So it's wrapping up the 29th of September, the last working day of the month. It's culminating into an awards show. So preamble to that, there's two participant types. The one is customers that can write an app and submit that app, and as part of that, they must demonstrate that app to a panel, typically OpenText product management, specifically in SMAX. And then there's the partner-based one, which is called the SMAXperts. They have to demo and showcase also before the 29th, and the panel will then, you know, get together, and on the 29th they will they will announce the winners, and then we don't know what the prize is yet. It's been very strict or stingy on what it is going to be. But yeah, as Daryl said, it's there's a lot of in a competition. One of the differences between last year and this year is a lot of customers trying to take part or to participate in the SMAXpert challenge, because it's a couple of things. There's quizzes and these type of things to test your knowledge. So a lot of customers actually trying to participate in the SMAXpert, which is quite interesting. And I heard a little birdie speak that this year out of South Africa, there's a game that's going to be submitted as part of SMAX Timber to drive adoption and to showcase the capabilities of SMAX as part of the game's end goal.
All right, great stuff. One of the themes for today's summit has really been around AI. Does that factor at all into kind of SMAX moving forward? Is it something that I guess the suite would kind of leverage on?
Yeah, funny that we just spoke about it just a bit earlier. Yeah, so from a SMAX Timber point of view, pure play SMAX Timber, a lot of the product management guys are presenting the use cases of generative AI and what that would be impact, or how SMAX would be impacted on it. What can customers gauge? What can customers expect? From a roadmap point of view, for sure, there is so much use cases. We had a conversation earlier in the studio about some of the elements that customers can gain, efficiencies, insight into data, bringing data to the fore, and having a better understanding of that data, all assisted with AI driving the user experience. You want to add something, Dewald?
No, well, if we're going to add to it, we're going to be here for the rest of the day. I think you kind of encapsulated quite nice. Thanks, Chris.
Great stuff. So I'm sure all the participants that are taking part in SMAX Timber will kind of want to see what those use cases bear out. I just wanted to find out from you guys though, for companies out there that are interested in SMAX, not necessarily taking part in SMAX Timber, considering it's kind of already underway, what is their first port of call as far as kind of getting involved with this ecosystem?
So that's fairly easy. Still, I think it's Micro Focus homepage, the product suite. There's a specific area for SMAX where a customer can request a trial. So they get a 14-day trial where they can play and interact with a fully data deployed system, so you can actually see the data flow. So that would be one. Other one would be to maybe contact OpenText directly and ask for someone to come and demonstrate or discuss the capabilities, as well as there's a fairly large partner community that implements supported platforms. So if you know a local partner, definitely you can reach out to them.
Sure. I'm going to throw a curveball for you for the last question. As far as customers that perhaps demo or try you said 14-day trials, the 14-day trial, how many of them are kind of then going for the fully fledged version of SMAX after that?
So for South Africa, pure play South Africa, it's not SMAX is fairly new to the market. There are others that's a bit more well known, a bit more heavy marketing, which I think OpenText is doing a brilliant job, trying to get the message out. In Europe, I think the conversion rate, if I remember correctly, is 55 or 60%, if I remember correctly. So on the Gartner marketplace or the Gartner peer review, SMAX, this is where customers actually rate the technologies, and the customer feedback, specifically out of Europe, is fantastic.
That's great stuff. It kind of bodes well for South Africa.
For sure.
Great stuff. So, Chris, Dewald, I do appreciate you guys taking the time. I'll try and see if I can get one of those snazzy hats as well for myself. And if you guys are interested in SMAX, please do reach out to OpenText or check out the website. I'm sure they would be very interested in demoing it for you and setting up with a 14-day trial. And then kind of taking things from there. Like Chris mentioned, we are interested to see what that on the 29th of September, what that's going to hold as far as the use cases are concerned, because I think a lot of people are kind of interested as far as generative AI and what that means for businesses moving forward. So guys, thanks again for taking the time to chat. Do appreciate it. And we're not done for today. We are still having a few more guests involved, so do please come back. We have a few more interesting conversations to be had.
The changing climate is the greatest issue of our time. OpenText customers are already innovating, using the digital world to protect the physical one. So together, we can be climate innovators.
Welcome back. Robin Ichetty here again, your faithful friend in the OpenText studio. And as I say, we've saved the best for last. I have Shaquille here from Datacentrics, the only diamond sponsor of today's OpenText Africa Summit 2023, and that relationship is more than about just paying a lot of money just for diamond sponsorship, I'm sure. And Shaquille, firstly, thanks for joining us. We do appreciate you taking the time. Perhaps just a bit of background first around your role at Datacentrics.
Thank you very much, Robin, for having me. I appreciate the time and effort. I'm the General Manager for Digital Business Solutions, and we look after the entire digital stack for Datacentrics, of which OpenText plays an integral role of delivering value to our customers.
Great stuff. And obviously this event, it's been a while since, I guess, in-person events have been happening. What is the significance of that as being a diamond sponsor? What does that mean?
I think for us there's two things. Our partnership with OpenText goes back more than 20 years. We've been through all the acquisitions that OpenText has made. And for us, it's about elevating that pitch to our customers and showing our commitment to this market, to our customers. So it is great to have another event now with the Micro Focus acquisition coming into play. We're seeing a lot of new customers come into the market. It's about creating that awareness, and that's why we wanted to be a diamond sponsor. We're proud to be honored to be accepted as a diamond sponsor as well from OpenText. It shows our commitment and our values behind OpenText in growing this market.
You mentioned Micro Focus there, and I've asked a few other people that we've interviewed although it's obviously still in its infancy as far as what it means for the different elements, kind of how customers will be engaging moving forward, but what does it mean from a data-centric perspective, kind of having Micro Focus in the fold, as it were?
I think it's nothing new for us. So, I mean, our technology side of the business has been a Micro Focus partner for a while. We've been working with Micro Focus in some of our customers already. I think now it'll bring things together, it'll galvanize things, it'll create more focus within the business, and we'll be able to provide a totally rounded solution. So we've been working with Micro Focus for a while already. It's a good complementary solution to OpenText, and it's about going going down that journey, going down that roadmap with them. It's about understanding what's going to stay, what's going to move on. If I look at the Micro Focus acquisition, I mean, OpenText bought off some of the HP assets a while ago. They've now just done a circle and rebought off the rest of the HP assets in any case. So I think it's a natural fit, which is encouraging for us as well.
Great stuff. I know that we are going to discuss what data-centric is kind of focused on at this event. We are nearing the end of it. I can already hear the crowds getting ready for the cocktail hour. I'm sure you'll be there as well, enjoying yourself and kind of networking. But what have some of the conversations been like today for data-centrics? How are you engaging with customers?
I think for me, first of all, I'm encouraged by the crowd that came out, and not by the volume of people, but the quality of customers that came out. I think it's important to get quality customers. You know, the kind of conversations are at exec level. It's about delivering value for customers. Customers want to understand what return on investment they're going to get, how quickly they can derive value, and I think that's the conversations that are at heart to us. But the topic's not only about, you know, how can we help you improve your content, it's now about how do we adapt our business? How adaptable are we? How agile are we? I think with us, what we saw driving this behavior is COVID. COVID changed everybody. Everybody realized they can't do the same old long sales cycles, long development cycles. They want agility, they want to see value immediately, and those conversations are coming through. So for us, we've taken a different approach, and we ask customers to do design thinking workshops with us, where we can identify that value for them and then hone in and give them that value. It's about a journey for us. So how do we walk hand in hand with customers down that journey, giving them value along the way all the time with a broader value proposition at play? And that's our motto. We want to do that. And we've had a lot of customers come up to have that conversation with us. We had some of our staff members on the main stage earlier on. That message was loud and clear. And we've seen an uptake on that already.
Great stuff. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. The pandemic was almost a litmus test for which companies are robust and which aren't.
Correct.
Now, moving forward, I know that we haven't really returned to a full state of normalcy. There's a bit of flux at the moment. How do some of the themes that were discussed here, such as AI, the evolving workforce, and things like that, how do those kind of factor into data-centric thinking moving forward?
I think for us things have gone, the new norm is out there already. So everybody's adapted to a hybrid working place. Some have opted for 3-day, 2-day option. Some have opted for 2-day, 3-day. Some have opted for complete hybrid. And we adapt to our customers' needs. I think what it's done for us twofold. One is from a skills perspective, we're able to deliver solutions across the world for our customers. And there's no such a thing as you need to be in the room. We've got teams that are based in South Africa, outside of South Africa. The teams are growing worldwide for us as data-centrics within this OpenText space. And we're able to deliver that value with that high skill base in South Africa to our customers locally. When you look at the newer technologies, we're now seeing, you know, AI was a fad in my opinion. It was just an advanced analytics which people now saw value out of. But for us, the true value we're going to get is around generative AI. And what do we mean by generative AI? How do we handle the governance within our organization? It's here to stay. It's already being used in organizations. How can we rapidly accelerate that for our customers is important, but with data that's valuable to their businesses. So we're seeing the customer communication segments getting quite inundated with those chatbot type features that can bring generative AI forward. We're seeing the data management space and the data AI space getting more inundated with generative AI type solutions. And we can see that accelerating rapidly. And I think that's going to be the new norm going forward. And the customers that don't jump onto that and that look at broad implementations are going to lose value behind it. It's about how you can access information at your fingertips right now. I have a 15-year-old son. He uses ChatGPT to do his homework, and the school accepts it. But it's about him understanding what value he's getting out of it, not just taking verbatim. And we have to adopt technology. Sure. And adopt it in the right way, within the right means and boundaries.
Sure. I'm assuming now that I guess a top priority for data-centric is taking all those concerns or perhaps headaches when it comes to generative AI and turning it into real advantages and things that really drive the business forward.
100% correct, and that's why we like to take the consultative approach. Let's understand the pain points. Let's understand what the business wants out of these technologies, rather than saying you need a generative AI solution. Let's understand what business value you're going to get out of it. Often people hear the business hears terms. They heard cloud and they kept on talking about cloud. Now they're hearing generative AI and they want to talk about it, but they don't really know what value they want. So it's in these design thinking workshops that we will sit down and break down to the customer what value they get, and then identify a solution that will suit them so they're getting purpose fit.
So are you trying to kind of steer conversations? Because as you mentioned, there are a lot of buzzwords that are being thrown around at the moment. Everyone wants to get involved with AI, but not necessarily knowing the best way to do so.
Correct. We're a digital enterprise, so we look at various digital technologies. AI is one component of it. The customer may not need AI, may need a combination of pulling data sources from multiple areas. It's about what they want to get out of it. What is the business value? What does it mean to their business? It's what we want to know first. Then we'll craft out a solution for that customer based on the tools that we have across the stack. That's our value proposition.
Understood. Yeah, some interesting and exciting times ahead. Looking forward, I'm assuming that Datacentric will likely be a diamond sponsor, if not involved somehow in next year's OpenText Africa Summit. Looking forward to the next 12 months, what is the company focusing on, and what kind of stories are you guys hoping to tell in a year's time?
So we're always committed to these events. We've always been a platinum sponsor at these events. We're a platinum partner. We actively attend the International OpenText Conference and support that conference as well. And the aim is to be on the cutting edge technology and understand the strategic value behind what solutions OpenText provides to us and how we can add that value to the customer. What's on our mind is customers' digital transformation journey. Customers are forced into technologies as COVID came through. They needed to make decisions quickly. They didn't have the time to sit and think about things. They didn't have time to apply their minds. In some sectors, it worked extremely well for them because they were ahead of the curve and they were able to adapt quickly. In some cases, not. So it's about understanding what is in that landscape, breaking that down for the customer into bite-sized chunks, and then walking down that journey with them. And that's our focus. It's not focused on AI only or on content services only. We'll bring everything together based on the value proposition of the customer.
Understood. You kind of mentioned digital transformation. I'm assuming cloud is a big kind of driver of that. What are your thoughts around OpenText's recent announcement in collaborating with Google Cloud?
So we always have a hybrid cloud strategy. It's what makes sense for the customer. And we have the hybrid cloud strategy with all customers in understanding where they want to put information. And information is a touchy topic as well because we need data sovereignty is a problem in some areas. Some customers feel it's fine, some customers feel not. So it's about having that conversation. We don't take a one shoe fits all. We understand where the customer's investments are. We recently had an engagement with a customer and they had already vetted a specific cloud technology. And we made that work for them because it's already vetted by their security policies. It makes sense for them. They've negotiated costs for them. So we'll go down with whatever the customer wants. But we give the customer options in cloud. We're not really prescriptive. We have our own cloud value proposition as Datacentric's cloud as well. We have local facilities and can provide that service locally at local cost for them. So it's about getting what's right for the customer that's important for us.
Great stuff. I think that's a great place to end things. Obviously, exciting times ahead if you're a Datacentric customer or you're OpenText customer. Again, thank you for taking the time to chat to us. We do appreciate it. And hopefully in 12 months' time, we can have a chat again, see how things have evolved and changed for your company.
Definitely. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Decisions. You make them all day, every day. From your commute to who you hire. But these days, with so much information out there, it feels like we're making them in the dark. That's where we come in. OpenText makes decision-making feel possible again. We make the inconceivable understandable. So you can power your people, connect your partners, and protect your data. Tomorrow's tough calls suddenly seem a little easier. We call it the Information Advantage. Unlock yours today with OpenText. It's the best decision you'll make.
Hi, Rob Nichete here again. And as Frank Sinatra once sang, and so, my friends, time is now. We are going to be calling an end to today's OpenText Africa Summit 2023. Obviously, you probably can hear the crowds or can see the crowds during the live stream gathering to enjoy a well-deserved cocktail hour, continue the networking, imbibing some libations, I'm sure, as well. And moving forward, if you have seen anything during the live stream that has piqued your interest, please do reach out to OpenText. They are really willing to engage. As we have seen throughout the day, we've chatted to a number of attendees, delegates, partners, sponsors, and the technology space in South Africa is a really exciting one, especially when it comes to information management. We've heard about the ability of AI to potentially supercharge your business, as well as what all the technology that OpenText is bringing to the front will mean for companies moving forward. And as mentioned, we will be back here in a year's time to discuss what has changed over the past 12 months. And if you have seen something that really interests you, please do consider registering to actually attend in person as opposed to watching the live stream, and kind of have those conversations yourselves, network, discuss the future of your business, and potentially see how OpenText or one of the other attendees here at the summit can potentially impact your business moving forward. So my name is Robin Chetty, and I hope you've enjoyed the live stream today, and hopefully we can see you again next year.